What's up, everyone? You know what day it is. That's right. It is Apex Legends Global Series Sunday, one of my favorite ones. Also, happy Easter out there for all of you that do celebrate. But we do have our final match day online ahead of that ALGS Open, where 160 teams are going to duke it out down in New Orleans. So not only beignets, but some interesting Apex action. And quite frankly, guys, we couldn't do things alone. So I'm Spider. Today I'll be hosting all the action, but we've got Vicky and Genome on the mic for the first time this split. Vicky, I know you have so many thoughts. You've been grinding a ton of ranked, and it's so good to have you here.
I'm so glad to be back. I mean, so much has changed out here. We got legend bans. I mean, I've been gone for 9 months, 40 weeks, 279 days since the last time I've been able to join my amazing colleagues here to cast ALGS Pro League. I don't know who's counting. But once again, I cannot believe to be here again alongside you guys for another already interesting year for year 5.
Hey, at least you didn't hit us with it. It's been 82 years. No, but for real, Gino, you're starting to turn into a streamer at this point, watch partying Apex South. I don't even know what time it is for you now, but I'm so happy to have you here for the EMEA region.
Yeah, just about to hit 3 a.m. here, but there's nowhere else. There's no, even my bed, there's nowhere else I would rather be right now. Apex Esports, only place for me.
Hey, same, honestly. And same for those of you at home. Thank you so much for choosing us to watch here. But let's go ahead. Let's get right into it, shall we? Maybe some things that you have not seen throughout the week. We've got some team name changes, okay? 75% British are now going by Pengu Power. And check out that penguin. I love the hammer, the anvil. I don't want to upset them. I don't ever want to upset Phoenix in general. So we'll be seeing what Cracked Fuda and Phoenix can do under this banner. Recently placed 4th in A versus C. You know they're going to want to keep on moving on towards the up and up. But for Stay Healthy, they get picked up by the Kansas City Pioneers. So really do love seeing more orgs coming into Apex Legends just ahead of the Open. But Vicky, we got Group B taking on Group C today, and I've got to hear any names jumping off the page for you right away.
I mean, I'm already excited to see Alliance. You already know how I feel about that team. It's going to be exciting. Aurora, who obviously a different look, but obviously having no issues on trying different things out, especially when there's legend bands in the mix. Gaimin Gladiators, they're going to be able to make a comeback here too, looking at the fact that they've been able to get the KP that they need, NIP as well. So many different squads that I've had my eye on that have already been able to play at least once, now finally meeting up together for the first time in this specific group B versus C.
Ooh, and Genome, how about you?
Yeah, I'm always keen to see Alliance, right? These guys are just a level above everyone else, and honestly, it's a pleasure to watch them. I mean, Aurora, Gaimin Gladiators, these are guys I always keep my eyes on because I know that they're very likely to make it all the way to LAN, and I want to see what they're doing and how that's going to translate from Pro League setting to a LAN setting.
Ooh, I love that we're already talking about LAN. Granted, I mean, it is literally in
kind of soon.
Yeah, it's just right, you know, 20 days or so away. But let's go ahead. Let's dive more into the storylines. Vicky, I know you've been doing some research on, I believe, Infinite. So take it away.
Yes. So our full fence squad, Infinite, has definitely been a team that I've been eyeing for a bit now. Not only showing their limitless potential on day one with pretty consistent placement across both Stormpoint and E District with a great amount of KP. They were able to finish first place overall in our groups A versus B. We even saw Infinite fare against the likes of Navi and Alliance. We know that these individual players are incredibly talented, and just being able to see how they've been able to be so flexible to adjust to these legend bans, which I think has been the topic, right? We've been able to see more of these teams showcase their high skill ceiling in being able to adjust, because sometimes when you yourself are playing Apex Legends and you have to swap over to a different legend in the next game, when you're so used to playing one legend specifically, it brings out what type of player you are, and Infinite has been able to display that on both maps consistently with both KP and again with placement. And when we take a look at their stats, you can see their worst placement of the day for match day 1 was 13th, and nonetheless they were still able to get a good amount of KP in their pocket. For the last 2 matches of the series, they ended in 1st and 2nd with both 7 KP each. Now the question is, can they be consistent? Whereas you look at the other side of the coin, another team that I wanted to keep my eye on is Gaimin Gladiators, kind of having a little bit of the opposite problem. They've been able to get the KP that that they need. Stormpoint being that rough map that we saw from this squad during day number 1 in terms of placement, but finding themselves with an 11th and 2 games where they finished in 16th, a bit better on E District where their best placement in the entire series was 5th place. But the one thing we've seen consistent with this squad so far is their capability to rack up that KP, averaging around 5.3 KP per game, putting them second in the lead behind Navi's 6.50. It's looking like Gaimin Gladiators, they have figured it out, but they need to be able to juggle both things at the same time if they want to elevate themselves in the overall standing. And then you look at other teams here like Genome, Pingu Power, who are also able to really try to change things up themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just their logo that's changing. Obviously going over from 75% British and now to Pengu Power. So these guys, they've got the Young Gun Feuder on their side. They're backed up by CJ and Phoenix as well. They had a great start to last week, a ripping start. But they really did fall off a little bit towards the end. They have been experimenting a lot. You know, we see teams play anywhere between 3 to 6 compositions now with the new Legend Man system, and Pengu Power are trying to put their best foot forward every single game. They played a full 6 different compositions, so every single map they are changing it up and trying something different. So hopefully they can take that data from last week where they've had varying results and try and work out between these which ones are working for them and which ones don't. If you look at the 18th place matches that were coming up there, that was actually more the alter gameplay, which I find interesting because personally, like, I'm really high on Alta as a legend right now, but I do think she has a very high skill ceiling. So maybe Pengu Power just needs to get a bit more time, a bit more experience with that particular pick, because I do think it has the potential to push them up much further and get, you know, something closer to the, you know, the second with 11 kills. The other team I think we should mention here in EMEA is Ninjas in Pyjama for slightly different reasons here. Obviously, this is the core that Nasky has been IGLing for quite some time. He's got Nags and Amphi with him so far this season, but as you can see from these tweets, unfortunately, Amphi's had a family emergency and won't be playing for the rest of the split. So look, best wishes to his family. We hope everything you know, works out for the best here with Amphi. But in the meantime, they're going to be moving forward with Sir Del, who's obviously had you know, a lot of history with Nasky playing in previous teams with him, so there's some great synergy there. However, due to the substitution rules, because Del was already listed as a sub for a different team, he won't be able to join them at the New Orleans LAN, and it'll actually be Scoury who will be going to New Orleans to back up the EMEA core.
Wow. I mean, you guys broke it down absolutely perfectly. And of course, we are always thinking of Amphi. And it's good to hear that they have such a good support system and kind of really a plan going forward. But honestly, we have a lot to look forward to today with groups B versus C. And I'd like to dive into it just a bit more because we haven't seen E District since match day 1. And now we're getting both of Broken Moon and E District into the mix today. So let's go ahead and dive more into what that POI draft looked like. Specifically, which POIs got picked up first? Energy Bank. And that's actually going to go to Nemesis. Now, when you start thinking about what they had last week, they were rotating in from Old Town, kind of all the way at that far south of things. But I like Energy Bank. The issue is it's a huge POI. It's going to take a ton of time to loot. So you might be kind of working through some things and really focusing in on your loot path. You do get your access to potential scans and you've got to kind of level up through things. But as you go to rotate out, I think this one's going to be really nice because a lot of those circles for endgame have been in the central E District to south side of things. Same with Street Market, right? This actually got picked up in the 2nd overall pick by VC Go. So with them getting a 9 and 32nd kind of pick on A versus C match day 2, they had decent POIs, right? But we haven't seen them yet on E-District. So getting Street Market, I love it. I know Vicky and I, we talk a lot and we play ranked with Graceful, and Graceful in general said if you're not landing draft point in ranked, you're throwing. Well, Street Market is right next door. You've got some nice rotations. There is a little bit of disjointedness when it comes to forming your loot path because everything is spread out, but you have some nice rotations to end game. And I know that's not all, but Stadium, Vicky.
Yeah, Stadium being the 4th pick for Forbidden, by the way. This is a pretty hard edge POI, I believe, and it has a lot of consistent Evo Harvester spawns, where you also could see the other Evo being closer to the extended supply bins. So there's a lot of loot to work out here. A lot of the better high tier loot usually spawns in the middle of Stadium. So you could get like one person to go north to loot that town area, so you could split loot all together and then go for a quick rotate. You could start rotating in less than 3 minutes, I would say, just to try to take a priority pathing if you could find that opportunity here. But it really does highlight how some of these priority POIs help out the squads to play in their own playstyle.
Yeah, all right, I'm just gonna have a quick talk about settlement here. This is obviously on the other end of this spectrum. This is a POI you probably don't want to end up in, and that's why we've seen BPR take it in 38th pick here. Now, a couple of things to note about settlement. It is quite central, right? So that means it's got good access to rotations. Obviously, you're going to get better priority to a larger range of zones. But as the camera pans through here, you're kind of looking around and you're like, where's the loot? And it has maybe a half to a third the amount of loot spawns that a lot of other POIs have. So you really need to be able to, you know, either fight another team and take their loot early, or maybe be picking up something like a Watson who gives your team resources in a different way.
Yeah, honestly, I love that. We were talking before the show and I'm like, you know, they're going to want to encroach onto like south of Energy Bank. Just try to find any kind of thing because you don't want someone coming in from Stadium and just early rotating on you. But I absolutely love it. I can't wait to see what we're going to get on E-District, considering I was watching some APAC North last night, seeing the bans that were coming through right along the way. But enough about that. We'll dive more into what you might have missed this week because we want to keep all of you guys up to date on all things ALGS. I'll be kicking things off. We'll be talking about the KPP poll, and this is a community run event. They do a lot of ballots each and every week. I think they have about 25 to 30 individuals behind the scenes, and every week they like to have this cross-region player of the week award. So these are your nominees. Obviously we had Imperial Hal after their performance, the Falcons right over in the Americas, but also we had Yulari Man, and I was reading on Reddit, and sometimes that can go wrong, just want to let you guys know, but this is the nicest thing I've seen. I just want to let you know, finally Japan has their effect / Koiful in Yulari Man, but Navi had a crazy performance with Yuchako, 31 kills in their most recent match day, north of triple-digit points in the series. They netted themselves some bonus points. So let's go ahead. Who actually won that out? Oh my gosh, Yuchako of Navi. This one was really tough, and we were talking about it before, and we're like, oh wow, I don't think anyone's gotten 31 kills in a series thus far. And then Genome was trying to tell me that this week people were giving Yuchako a run for their money. But look at the legends played here. Very much diverse. Loves being on the hyper aggro character, which is interesting because over the past couple of months, even some LAN performances, it really wasn't Yuchako leading the fragging potential for this team. So to see him kind of take charge, get wild with it, it's been fun. So I want to see what Navi has in store for us, but let's keep going. Vicky, what have you had your eye on?
I had my eye on something that I hope I don't have to deal with one day in one of my ranked games. You know what? Why don't we talk about it? Why don't we look at the clip right here? Because friends like these, man, sometimes unfortunate situations happen, and in this case, it happened with Reignite. The accidental Wraith kidnap on your own teammate is cruel. It be your own sometimes out here, and in the middle of him popping the Phoenix kit, he's not gonna be able to take that portal back. It goes away. He pops the syringe way too late and decides to accept his fate looking into the sky. Very unfortunate situation there for Reignite, but it allowed you to see some pretty funny situations that do end up happening when you yourself are also playing Apex. You get to see the pro players go through some similar tribulations as well. Very funny here to see that Wraith kidnap. But, you know, that's not the only thing that we have been able to see. I want to also update you guys on APAC North, because after everything that we've seen shake up here within groups A versus C, something that I was able to like watching here is not only Soden winning, you could see the P2020s blaring through your screen. You could see the kill feed lighting up out here too. Soden was able to clutch this out, utilizing the ultra that Genome had mentioned earlier here. And not only that, being able to pop off and getting that dub for APAC North. And then on the other side too, we got to see B versus C with Euresis team popping off. I loved watching this clip too, because you could see the shrivel. Look at this, the pixel where he's hitting their toes up on the high ground, reject up on the best positional advantage that they can have over this lobby before finding the dub themselves, winning here for the day with reject taking that top here. Looking at the overall scoreboard of the APAC North overall standings, it's looking like it's shaping up really nice here too, with GHS with 46 total points. That is with all 2 series being played.
I mean, I'm enjoying it, right? GSS, Fnatic, a lot of people talking about those. It's going to be a tight-knit battle. But honestly, Genome, we were talking about it. You know and love APAC South. You were kind of trying to prove me wrong about some of the players of the week with some of the new players that are coming out of APAC South. So tell me what I missed.
Yeah, well, looks, you know, our best talent seems to keep leaving us and going overseas, but we just keep finding new and even better players, apparently, because we had Shoji from Lonely Let Gone come out and pull out a 33 kill, I think it was, series. Just, yeah, honestly incredible from those guys. But yeah, looking into the overall standings, we started off with A versus C. This was a fun series. We had Keep Going Gaming run away with this one, and we had so many high frag games, honestly, throughout this entire weekend. I think there was only a single game across our 12 games this week where one team didn't get over 10 kills, and Keep Going Gaming were, like, you know, the epitome of that. They got a 21 kill win and an 18 kill win as well. And then having a look at Green Stego as well, they were our team that took out the B and C group wins, so that's put them on the top of the standings now, sitting there with 43 points. You can see LLG there in second. That's who we were talking about. You guys probably remember Roy from the Heart Antics when he was playing at LAN. He's no longer with Dreamfire. He is now playing with Lonely Let Gone and has somehow surfaced this incredible talent in Shoji, who just absolutely showed up, I suppose, this week.
Well, thank you so much for giving us the information on Shoji in general, because the majority of people on Reddit are basically just saying that new guy with Roy, and I'm like, no, he has a name. We want to know more details about the new talent that is always coming out of APAC South. America's EMEA, please no poaching, at least not yet. Come on, let us get through like a full year or two with them on Apex for that. But guys, thank you so much. That's what you might have missed, but we're going to keep on moving because there's a lot of things we got to talk about before we dive into our first match of the day. And I'm gonna go ahead and hit it right now on the nail, right? Face it, watch, guys. This is one of the best ways to go ahead and watch all the ALGS action because you can control all of the POVs. Now, I know when I'm watching, I like to bring up the match view, hear the comms, and just kind of track rotations throughout it. You can also do clips now and be able to share those. It's getting better. It's on mobile. There's so many things about Face It Watch that I have been loving. It's a great way to really boost some of those watch parties that I've been seeing all across the streaming platforms. Wherever you're watching it, pull it up on TV, have the match on your phone, listen to the watch parties, go to the B stream, hang out with us, like just every single where, just access ALGS the way you want to watch it. Now, we do also have another new segment that we have introduced recently for Split One that I've kind of been loving. It's what does chat think? And sometimes that can be really dangerous. Like I was talking with you laughing earlier. I was like, I was reading Reddit. Yeah, you never know what you're gonna get. But what does chat think? So tag us on your social account because later during halftime, we're gonna have MG, aka MG Clutch, join us here on the show. And he's gonna go through a lot of your thoughts. So let's go ahead and see what you've got for us. Give us your spicy takes, your medium takes. Maybe you just wanna say hi to MG, do it all. But I'm gonna go ahead, kick things over because match number one's about to get underway. So Vicky, Genome, take it away.
Thank you so much, Tiff. Genome, we are here again. It feels like it's been forever. I started setting everything up here at my home setup, and I realized how dusty my green screen was. Do you understand? It's been so long, and I am so excited to be back alongside you here on the main broadcast for Play Apex. It's been a fantastic time to watch how the first 2 days have shaped up. We got new maps coming into the fray. We got legend bans. I am so hyped to dive to see what legend bans we're going to be exposed to, because I want to touch up on something you mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast. You know, you mentioned Alter, and we're starting things off on E District, and there's so many ideas that were flowing through my head when I was thinking about the different possible legend competitions that we could see from some squads to help them get over some tricky chokes that they may find themselves in.
Yeah, and there was a massive change to Alter that has essentially turned her into, in my opinion, like the best character, the best legend on this map, right? The biggest one was they increased the void passage distance, anyway, from 20 meters to 30 meters. And what that meant is there's a lot of the big walls that separate POIs in E District were about 26 meters wide. So previously you couldn't get through them. You had to rotate around. It made chokes just one of the biggest features of E District. But now all of a sudden, if Alter is still in the pool, we'll see how early she gets banned out. I would expect her to get banned out at some point in these first couple of games. It just means it just opens up the world for you in terms of rotations. And the other part, of course, is the fact that they made her void nexuses much more usable. You can put 2 down now at once. You can go back to them multiple times. There's just like a little refresh on them. And even the void siphon, the way you can reach the top levels of buildings now, makes her such a better legend overall.
Yeah, I agree. The map choice is definitely the influence on which of our legends we will see banned first. But while we get everything set up, scrims, guys, gotta restart the lobby. But in the meantime, let's get hyped for New Orleans, because I am. I cannot wait to join everybody in New Orleans for the ALGS Open. That is right around the corner, May 1st through the 4th. If you know that you're free, if you want to check us out, do not miss it, because an Apex LAN is a LAN that you have never been able to experience before. Scan that QR code on your screen, because tickets are on sale right now. You don't want to miss out on the action. It's going to be an absolute fantastic time. We got more teams than ever before, Gino.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, if you're, wanted to meet the players, well, we've just quadrupled the amount of teams that you can go there and meet, right? So, yeah, there's going to be something for everybody, I think, there. So many teams. All these new changes to Apex Comp, you're going to get to see, legend bans evolve over the course of a LAN, whereas previously we generally see, a sort of funnel effect where teams will start playing more and more the same comp as you get into that final lobby. This time, it does feel like we could get change-ups going all the way into the final series, because, teams are going to be like, okay, yeah, sure, we've got no Newcastle, we can't play Catalyst anymore. Like, how do we keep ourselves safe and prioritize rotations when we've got all the best teams in these ultra high pressure lobbies? Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I guess we'll discover it with you guys along at New Orleans.
I'm so excited because not only do we have LAN coming up around the corner, but we get to see a little taste of what these legend bands and such a big map pool has exposed us over the course of the first 2 days of ALGS Pro League, what that means here shaping up for day 3, but also how a lot of these different teams have been able to adjust. And that's going to be something you're going to hear me talk about a lot because I think that's the topic to focus on. It's what highlights the individual player skill ceiling that needs to be achieved to be able to catch up with the best here, because beforehand we had a lot of players and teams that were able to kind of sit into a comfort seat, aside from maybe some characters getting nerfed that they were more comfortable on before and then having to readjust beyond that, and staying consistent between that same legend composition and maybe otherwise switching between one map to the other, since we only ever have 2 that play out for the entirety of the course of the Pro League. Now that's not the case anymore. Now you're forced to play so many other legends, and that adjustment has to be made on the fly. You have to be able to be on top of a very large legend pool.
Yeah, exactly. You need to be much more flexible. It absolutely raises the skill ceiling. I mean, you know, I don't want to start throwing dirty words around here and calling people one tricks, but, you know, potentially in the past, you've had people who have stuck to one legend for a very long time and not been willing to, you know, to try something else. I don't know why Designful just came to mind, but it's always kind of funny because now it's like Wraith is actually more playable than ever. So in some ways, it's actually made it better for some people who are maybe picking a little bit more like sort of off meta picks, right? But yeah, it's going to be awesome to see players who are versatile and are good with a whole range and a whole host of different types of legends. And even different play styles, right? Because you see teams go from like a, you know, really heavy defensive Catalyst Newcastle setup, and then all of a sudden, you know, in game 6, they have to be playing Maggie Ballistic Crypto. Just off the top of my head, that's what Lonely Lake On was playing in APAC South, which is basically like dialing up the aggression to like 100.
Yeah, and you know, when you take a look at the different legend comps and the different maps that add everything up together, you're still going to see certain players be the outlier of maybe running a legend that you don't see any other team running. That's why I'm interested to see how they could try to piggyback either out of the Ultra that we are 100% going to see on E-District, or maybe the Valkyrie here too. But while we do settle some things and we get game number 1 ready, thank you guys so much for your patience. I want to bring back Tiff over here. Tiff, I know you just sat down just for a little bit waiting out for the first game to start, but I want to look at the E-District POI draft that we have on our hands.
Cool, let's go ahead and bring it up. Honestly, I just thought they brought me back because anytime Genome starts to go rogue, they need someone to like keep the peace. And I was here to do it. As soon as he called out Designful, I was like, wait a second, no.
Do it now.
You know I'm all about that. We bring the same energy sometimes, but let's go ahead and look at it as a whole. I know at the top of the show, we talked about Energy Bank being one of the first POIs chosen, and I like this, right? I mean, if you guys are apprised of like data and you love being like an Apex nerd, go look at Apex Legend status. They posted a tweet. Now it's not going to include the APAC North zones, I believe in the APAC South ones that potentially just happened, but a lot of the zone pulls in E-District are in that central POI area. So a lot of Energy Bank endings, a couple draft point just towards the northwestern side of Street Market as well, Genome. So when you start looking at the teams that were able to get those POIs right off the rip, I talked about VC Go in general, and I believe Nemesis as well for Energy Bank. Do you think that's what people were looking forward to? Because obviously it has good loot potential and nice rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would take Energy Bank first if it was me as well. And you know, if you want to get really nerdy about it, one of the reasons that the zones do keep pulling so centrally there is because zones tend to pull away from those walls. And because there's such a big empty space within them, it sort of pushes the zones inwards, and you just end up with a lot of zones that do finish up in that POI. Plus the chance of getting dual Evo harvesters is incredibly impactful in the current meta.
All right, let's say goodbye to Tiff, because while we're getting hyped up on E-District, we're starting off on E-District for game number 1, match day 3 here. And let's start off the action. We waited long enough, and I'm excited here, Genome, to start off with groups B versus C.
All right. We're back. We're back in. We're in the game. It's happening. It's EMEA. It's Pro League. All right. Get some some early vision of Alliance here. One of the teams that we were both excited to check out, I think. And as we start to wait and see where this first zone will pull, obviously they're not playing for 100 Thieves, who are, you'll have to wait until a little later in the day to see them come through. But it's, you know, roughly on the same power level, you might say.
All right. Just gonna see them loot up what they need right now. Nice little camera shot of the octopus eating the ramen. Love that. I love the aesthetic of E-District too. Playing E-District has just been so refreshing since its release, and now we get to see where our zones are going to be taking us over to the northwest side of the map. On that north side too of Neon Square, where F9 are not going to have any issue here. Can maybe even try to take an isolated fight once they get that Evil Harvester, have the information off that survey beacon. And with this overhead alone, counting how many altars we see, Genome, I feel like that may be the first legend we have to see go.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of Catalyst in there as well. Like, Complexity might be one of the only teams who are not running Catalyst right now. ACP as well, both sticking with Newcastle as their sort of defensive characters. I guess, yeah, the Newcastle Watson
I think the Catalyst,
is
honestly
an interesting one. Yeah, it's definitely a toss-up between Catalyst and Alta right now, I think.
So interesting to see how that's going to play out for our second game here. Already squads on their rotate. Nemesis.
Let's make a mess over there.
So we're walking the full blue here. They got that control legend while they've already scanned the circle beacon and where that circle is going to be pulling us here.
We should go there.
So important. You have that portal nexus too if you want to try to rotate to a tricky spot before wanting to see if you could try to go in for a third party as well. It's been very enjoyable to play the changes myself with Ultra this season. It's really been refreshing out here, Gino.
Yeah, I've been having a ball. I've been putting a lot of time into her because, as I said, I feel like she is the kind of legend that does reward having a lot of map knowledge. Like, the thing that really impresses me so far is characters who are obviously players who are obviously grinders, right? People who play a lot of ranked, play a lot of, you know, maybe even just go into custom matches and really tinker around a lot because they just have this instinctive knowledge of moving around the map, and they can use Alta's Void Passage to go from one place to another in really effective ways very quickly.
This was Alliance Effect getting a knock and a finishing blow onto UQ. BPR backing away with the Ash Portal, but there's a squad right in front of him. You saw it on the scan once he took that portal, having to communicate to be careful. I believe that's NIP, yes, right around the corner with the P2020 singing for themselves. They heard the action, and now playing as a duo is BPR, seeing if they could try to reposition themselves, because don't forget there was that other initial squad that we were looking at. We were talking about draft point originally and how tricky it could be when you aren't the first squad here. There's so many different places you could coexist in, especially in this high ground bridge that we're currently seeing Gaimin Gladiators on.
Yep, they are in a cluster of teams down the bottom. Quite a few teams have moved up into the zone up in the northwest like we were talking about, but there's, yeah, 3 or 4 teams down here with 10K, Ninjas in Pyjamas, as well as Gaimin Gladiators, all in this one spot. And this is, as we see Blast getting some nice shots. Oh, just this is the last one, but Lufka's there to make sure that the GeoGuessr goat apparently doesn't make it away.
Gonna say goodbye to Envy first here too in this lobby. So many squads have already gone in for a quick rotate. Draft Point is the only place right now where all 3 of these teams are trying to split their rotate, whether they want to see NIP take Energy Bank to prioritize playing on the edge of that next zone through the choke on the west side of Energy Bank, and even Gaimin Gladiators who are still hanging out on that south side. To be H2, gonna see if they can try to take height. While coexisting here, so many other teams have already made their way over to City Hall.
This is a great spot to hold if you're holding out in City Hall. Oh, sorry, Neon Square, I guess they're in. You have such good high ground here. The sight lines are, you know, just excellent if you're looking to potentially grab some people who are rotating in. Like there's, you know, F9 are still below them. Potentially Ninjas in Pyjamas and Gaimin Gladiators, who we saw down at the bridge, will eventually come this way. The only other option they've really got is to go through Energy Bank.
Now, holding this spot is great too, because they also had that circle beacon, knowing where that zone is going to pull. So they're going to be hanging out on that south side for now, before other teams on their north side of the POI by City Hall have already been able to go through those chokes, those tricky chokes that we've seen be the detriment factor for a lot of these squads here. Reply Totem already also trying to make their next move. Either shooting from the distance here before trying to see where they want to move over to.
We should park there.
Hear the pings here too, just trying to see where they can try to rotate after having that information. Round one closing in now, so they'll know where that next circle is going to be pulling within the next 30 seconds.
Yeah, City Hall, one of the more common end zones I feel like we've been getting over on E District. These buildings are always fun to watch when more people start getting into them, like the abductions that we've been seeing happening, like teams having to start playing on, they're like climbing the bookcases so that they don't just fall through the floor when the other teams are trying to you know, use the void passage above and just try and get a cheap and easy kill. I also saw like some Rampart teams like sitting on their Rampart walls as another way to avoid that happening.
Thankfully for us here, no Rampart in this lobby. I've seen that in my own games here, staring me down while you're trying to make a rotate. Teams that are taking their time though, Gaimin Gladiators, after we saw them originally by draft point, have now completely isolated themselves, rotating far south to prioritize their looting path. Other objectives in mind here, to be able to get that survey, getting out of street market and IP. Still in another fight though. Looking to restabilize with Nags being on that caustic too.
Yeah, wow, okay. I think I saw one team in APAC South pick up the caustic even in the first game, and I was expecting more towards the end of a series because we were getting points where every other controller character was banned out, right? And it's like, at this point, do you go for a fuse? Do you go for a caustic? Do you go for, you know, maybe even a mirage? Because you've got to start really thinking about the other characters that have the ring console perk and can actually give you access to that if you want the ring scans. But I mean, yeah, pointing out all these strange legend differences, Vicky, I think one of the cool things is the legend ban system has resulted in so much more experimentation, and we're actually seeing even bigger differences between the regions than we have before.
We really have, and we also see the way that certain teams have had to adjust even their own playstyle to work around these different legends. The way that they rotate into the zone, how quick they can rotate into the zone. Do they want to play slower? Do they want to play for objective here? That's what we see from Gaimin Gladiators, how they're going to be playing more so by the edge to slow rotate. And while they're slow rotating, we know that E District provides a lot of cover for teams to coexist in. It's about how you get into those final zones. We know, and we heard from Hockeys within our last broadcast, that they like to play for circle 3. That's where they like to prioritize their rotate. That's why they usually are in a great position and they don't get caught pinched in a lot of the times that they are in the middle of their rotate. They're already in that next zone. As we're taking a look at FaZe on the other side, Phoenix right here on, just trying to stare them down to see if they can try to farm some of these Evo Shields since they're still on blue, so they're at an Evo Shield disadvantage for now.
Yeah, so these guys, FaZe Clan and Annex Esports, they're sitting right on the edge of the zone here, Vicky, and this is where, what is it, like Zone 2 touches Zone 1, essentially. So they're playing what I would say is like, you know, they're predicting the zone will continue to pull towards the edge, as it does a lot of the time, but they are going to be sorely disappointed because the zone is pulling back into a more central City Hall position, and where usually they'd be fine until the end of the game, they're actually going to have to make a much earlier rotation than they might have been hoping.
Teams too, looking behind them to make sure there aren't any other slow rotating squads here. SJP2 looking on that north side that you had mentioned, because one of the squads that are laying out in the outskirts that could take this rotate if they want to go for a late rotate is Aurora, who are also camping the Evil Harvester over by the middle part of the map, where you can see if you enter through City Hall, they're sitting right there on top of that, controlling a good amount of space for now, but SJP2 are also just making sure their backs are cleared before trying to commit over to the edge of that City Hall POI. Pengu Power have already found themselves in a building that would be matching that of SJP2, but this is a great option that SJP2 is actually taking. Now they're going to wrap around and enter from the complete north side of the map, where it hasn't been contested yet, but it's a very big open space that you could get shot from the distance by other teams that could stare at them like FaZe Clan in their line of sight.
Oh, and yeah, if they were hoping to get a ring pull anywhere near them, Vicky, it's just gone the other way as well. It is actually pulled almost directly center. Hopefully we can get some map vision of that at some point, because this is actually quite an interesting circle pull that we've had here, and it will actually favor Ninjas in Pyjamas. You can see they're actually scouting ahead right now. You're seeing Nags and Sir Del sit there while Nasky is trying to work out where they could go next. They don't have a ring console. They haven't actually scanned this, but it looks like they have picked up that they may need to move more centrally. So I like that they're being a little proactive about this.
Have to be too when you're trying to take a much more aggressive approach. Aurora just fully send it to right on top of the edge of the zone, right in front of Pengu Power. They're not the only ones too. The next are still inside. They're not leaving from the bunker that they've already supplied themselves with the Newcastle. Neighboring that right alongside them, and without having an altar could be scary when you also are at an evil shield disadvantage. What are going to be the next here? Because they don't look like they have the information for that next zone too, right? They know they're on the outskirts. They know it's going to be pulling away from them. It's about how they're going to make this rotate when they know that there's 3 other teams that are looking at them.
It's always tough when you're in the crossfire that much. You can see pretty much everyone has the Void Nexus set up in the shops. So if they do run into any trouble as they're making their rotations, there is always the chance to reset. It's one of the things that makes this character's legend so powerful. And you can see F9 in absolute shambles, just trying to take an E back. They do it in a time where essentially nothing else is going on, and so they just get completely focus fired by all the other teams around.
I'm generally surprised they were even able to try to take that EVA tower in the first place. Yes, they lost out on one, but a very risky play. They really had no other choice, though. They wanted to take the risk, and that just allowed Next to just shoot at them for free. Nemesis, they come right back. They clean up. Lovka, GG in some trouble here, and with the utilization of the altar, by the way, looks like they may have come from the top to then drop right back down here, and this is the beauty of the altar on E District. You could also bait a lot of players to make it seem like you could go through one portal, put it somewhere out of their line of sight in a different direction, so that way you could actually just completely encapsulate them in a sandwich situation. The fighting has not stopped, though, here on the other side. 10K2 also finding themselves in a scramble here on the high ground, seeing if they could get the loot that they need, but the P2020s have not slowed down, and I did not expect them to, Gino.
I mean, we were seeing a little bit more shotgun usage in Apex South yesterday, so I don't know if that's a region-specific thing or if some teams are actually saying, you know, the P20s, they fell off a little bit. Like, it does take, I think it's an extra shot on every armor level with the nerf to their damage, but they are obviously still a fearsome weapon. I mean, I don't know how you felt. Obviously, give me the roller POV of this, Vicky, because I find them hard to use, honestly. You know, like, you're spamming away. It can be really hard to get the tracking right, considering how fast they fire.
Oh, I make them sing. It feels like, but when you're receiving it, it feels like you're in a microwave. Like, it reminds me of like the early Mozam of Kimbo and how just savage it was on the receiving end of it. And we get to see it play out here too, even with that slight nerf, right? What was it, like 1 damage here? Reply Totem on the high ground. Still full blues though. Looking to see if they could close in that gap or if they could just try to prioritize this rotate, and that they do, calling in the cat wall to just block them from the line of sight of FG, who are trying to look at them too. But with Totem trying to get ahead of the curve so that way they could get edge of circle position, trying to gatekeep Forbidden could be big here. But with all this noise, Forbidden and Reply Totem aren't the only ones here in this spot. Gaimin Gladiators, we saw that they were in some trouble before, and as a duo, they're also going to try to cut off Forbidden.
Yes, dude, GG try and get ahead of this, but Forbidden have noticed that this is going on, and as you can see, they're sending it down, and all in the space of a few seconds there, GG will go down one after another. Forbidden, oh no, the wall's down on the wrong side, has to pop the mobile shield as well here to try and get that res off, but they're being full sent by Reply Totem.
And I saw the full slam too from Infinite there, the Newcastle wall onto the Newcastle wall, but Reply Totem being on the high ground just helps out so much. Okay, well, He wasn't really looking at him once he dropped down. Unfortunate there, but even better for Reply Totem to get even more KP as we say goodbye to Pengu Power being eliminated. Nice nades I'm seeing here on the feed, and the P2020s, they still sing here. It's up to Catch here. Trying to clutch this out, but he doesn't hear right behind him. They circle around him, and SJP2, they get to see another day. You can hear the 30-30s in the distance. Some shots being taken to then pull up for the 3P.
Yeah, teams, they're trying to hold on to high ground desperately here, but they're seeing the KP below them, and it seems like one by one, they pop down, they're like, ooh, there's some juicy KP, and as soon as they do, there's another team that will take their place and get the high ground value and get the shots down onto them. So teams having to weigh up right now whether they want to play for that later placement or just, you know, try and grab some early KP where they can.
This is such an insane final zone. This is crazy. 10K are the only ones really in this zone, and they have the high ground, but this is the thing about E-District, right? In zones like this, there's little to no cover. Once you're forced outside these buildings, you're up on the high ground, you're playing up a hill, other teams are looking at you with either 30-30 or a G7 that we've seen thus far, and it feels hard if you don't have a Newcastle on your team to make up that makeshift cover once you're forced outside of these smaller buildings. You're going to play uphill like you've been seeing from 10K, seeing if they can hold that south side of the map. But once this zone closes in for that next zone, the squads on the north side of the zone are in a lot of trouble, as we're already seeing right now with round 5 closing.
Yep, it feels like the zone is going to get kind of divided up into two sides here with the north and the south, and that divide between them. So Aurora is one of the teams who is just within the next zone on the north side, but as you can see, 4 or 5 teams packed into some of these buildings is going to make them an absolute hell on earth when this next circle starts to close.
What a nice nade here. That allows me to then push in for the rest of this squad here. 10K in trouble. The alter Q to then get right on the other side of reposition. But you're in the zone. No. 10K. They get eliminated. Sometimes you don't even know where you're going with that alter portal sometimes. But you know what? It's got to be done now as Aurora, you mentioned it before, Gino, one of the squads coming in from the north side of the zone, out in the open too. So many squads neighboring them. NIP, Nemesis here too. Now Team Nessa here too, trying to see if they can try to push in from the north side. UAIM get eliminated, 8 squads left. With Nemesis neighboring them, SJP2 are also on their south side. This is going to be a bloodbath, but Aurora have no issue cleaning up the KP that have been left out for them. VC Go get eliminated.
Oh, I mean, this is where Aurora want to be. This is what they live for, just in the chaos, going straight for the other team's necks and trying to rack up KP here. That said, all the teams from the south side seems to have been sorted out a lot earlier than the north side here. We've got Team Ware sitting in the middle, taking out the last remaining members of F9, and just waiting for these fights up the top end to finish, and then we'll get a kind of final showdown.
We got Team Nemesis versus Nemesis, by the way. That is what we're seeing right now. And we are seeing Nemesis dancing around the altar portal. The catwall has been called in. Remix Power is still alive right on top of them. But look at all this space that Wei is holding. They're on the high ground. They're looking at all the action play out from right underneath their feet. And it's just free reign of shooting from them.
I mean, this is incredibly easy, isn't it? The team's trying to just hug the wall because that's the only chance they have to get away from the scouts, from the P2020s. And it feels like at this point, Team Ware are going to take this one out unless someone makes some kind of crazy evac tower play or something. Slams them off height with a Newcastle wall. I don't know. You're really going to have to try and think outside the box to remove them from their high ground.
I mean, when this is a situation, right, when you don't have the proper legend composition, who's going to force Wei off from this high ground? They got here first, and they're just getting free KP as they clean up the rest of the lobby. One squad left. They drop down. They take the portal. See where we're going to be going. Was it worth it here? And is he going to die right when he cakes it right back? He lets the rest of his squad finish off the rest of the work that needed to be done. And Team Wei with the dub. Again, getting up on the high ground when nobody else had the potential to take this high ground from them. That's why these legend compositions matter so much. And they did it without the altar too of this map.
Yeah, they did actually. Newcastle, Ash, and Catalyst for Team West. So Solid from them. I mean, as we saw, that was an extremely strong high ground position. Maybe if there was some Ashe composition, some Ashe teams, that was really how teams could have taken that off them, getting the portal up to high ground there and just full sending in that way. But we've even had that Ashe nerf recently, right, where you travel more slowly when you're going through the portal. And what that means is now you hear the sound cue of the Ashe portal and you actually have time to turn around, look at the Ashe portal, and you can, if you're ready for it, you can just spray them down and almost like one clip someone as soon as they come out of it. So I think that was an interesting change, and honestly like a pretty good one that the Respawn team has made to balance Ashe's portals.
Yeah, I love the quick balance changes that we've been having too, because let me tell you, I start crying the moment I see the Ashe coming in, and I know there could be a second portal coming out too, like right off from the works, and then the double dash at the beginning. It was insane work to see. But in a case like what you were talking about, even having the Ashe could be difficult if there isn't another team to try to split their attention, because like you said, it's slower, it makes the noise, they get to turn around and they'll just blast you without you having the opportunity. That's why now you could see some Ashes, they take their portal and they'll start already shooting their gun before they're already on the other side of the portal, so that way they could try to make some magic happen. But Wei was just in such a good spot with the Ashe, with the Newcastle up on high ground, and it was like a 25-point game, so they cleaned up so much KP from the action that was happening at their feet from the squads that were stuck on the low ground.
Yeah, and I think they got that because they were proactive, right? Like, as we said, there were sort of two separate groups of teams, and because we managed to clean up their fight first, all of a sudden they just get to sit up on the high ground and just start spraying everyone else as Aurora and all those other teams came out from the building.
As we take a look at our match results for game number 1, already coming out to swing. Wei take it with 13 KP and the dub. That's definitely one way to start your day, with a pretty big gap between yourself and the rest of this lobby. Coming in second, F9. We saw them in a good amount of fights, but unfortunately not getting the KP that they needed, but they did get the placement points in that second place. Looking all the way down though, pretty evenly distributed KP. Really strong here from Team Nemesis. Nemesis too. I mean, they tied both when we saw them collapse on each other. Aurora with 6 KP and even NIP with 7 KP. We saw them getting pretty aggressive on the north side of zone alongside with Aurora.
I mean, that's some incredible rat strats there from F9. I mean, they were just sitting below where, and obviously, yeah, a couple of them have died, and then one has ratted all the way to the end. 9 placement points, 0 KP. Don't see that too often.
Yeah, it's unfortunate here, but with game number 1 in the books, we get to see some more E District on the other side of this break, and you don't want to miss it.
Welcome back to ALGS Match Day 3 here in EMEA. We just sent Genome on a quick break. I'm stealing Vicky because, you know, I think it's time that we hop back on the mic together. Although you guys did crush it for E District right off the rip.
I always love casting with you, Tiff. You know it's going to be exciting, especially after the action that we already saw kick off game number 1. What better way to dive back into E-District now with one of my favorite people out here?
Honestly, I loved it. And everything that we were talking about with E-District and the POI draft, as we pull up the final circle from last match, is that we are seeing these end games in a neighboring vicinity with a lot of easy rotations. But can we talk about WEH and how they walked in from Shipyard Arcade at the far south of E-District? And honestly, we didn't go back far enough because there were 18 squads at round 4 closing, where WEH and 10K essentially walked straight into the southernmost point of zone, while all these teams were kind of collapsing in the north.
I mean, can we acknowledge that we had like 13 teams left still for like the 5th round closing in? We had so many squads still alive, even with all the chaos that we saw happen at the very end. And with Way being on the high ground too, Tiff, we already knew it was inevitable. There was nobody to really take this high ground from them.
And I think that's one of the most powerful positions here in E-District, and just kind of navigating that high to low ground and constantly making sure that you're not giving up that height advantage, because we see so many end games where it's just a simple kind of pounce and end it with the P2020s. And that is just how you maximize absolutely everything. So to see them come out on top, considering that was a team that won the preseason qual #1 in the EMEA region. So for them to get, I believe it was 20th in match day number 2, and to kickstart things off with a game 1 win and 25 points, like, what are we even in for? This is our last online match day ahead of the ALGS Open. So if you're going to find your form, find it today.
Exactly. And you know what, with the legend compositions that we've seen too, because Gino and I, we were counting out here, we had highlighted Alter with an E-District for all the right reasons, being that there's so many buildings to coexist in. Some of the squads that may struggle on finding themselves through some of these chokes. Talking about Catalyst, how that could be the band-aid fix with the wall and trying to find your own rotate. But that wasn't the most picked legend that we saw, Tiff.
Oh, okay. Do tell, Vicky. I feel like you're about to drop some knowledge on me and I need it.
Well, we have Newcastle exiting his way out from the series already. Newcastle being the most played legend that we saw in game number 1. And we know how strong the Newcastle's always been. Whenever I was watching scrims and watching you guys pop off on the other last 2 match days, I was noticing that we constantly seeing, depending on the first map that we have within our series, sometimes Ash, Newcastle being those priority catalysts, being those priority legend bans, because that's the most legends that we see within the game. Now moving on though, we're already starting game number 1, day number 3 strong, with Newcastle being that first legend ban.
You know what's so wild is when you're talking about that and you've mentioned 2 of the legends. I was up at like 3 a.m. last night, my time, watching APAC North. And when we got to group B versus C on that second, because you know that they do the back-to-back, neither Newcastle or Catalyst got banned in APAC North. So the fact that we're kicking things off as we get to look at our map schedule, we still have those 2 games left on E-District. Newcastle didn't get banned in APAC North, and you're telling me that the first game of the day over here in EMEA, we're banning Newcastle. Now granted, if you look back to week 1, I think Newcastle actually did get banned the second game of E-District. So we are starting to recognize the importance of this legend on that map, but now you're pulling out. Like, you're done and dusted. No more Newcastle for the rest of the day.
Exactly. And you get to see the different map rotation too. Before our last 3 games though, we have that Broken Moon transition. We get to say goodbye to Newcastle for now. I love the graphics that we've been able to see too when it comes to introducing these legend bands. I've had so much fun watching you guys really kick things off, but with Newcastle exiting out of his way, we saw our game 1 winners, Way, who their POI, I believe, is Shipyard Arcade. They had the Newcastle on their team too. We saw them hold that strong position. Usually you see the grand slam from one Newcastle, but the Newcastle who slams second is the one that controls that space, because you could just break the previous Newcastle in that interaction. But it's also finding the better position to have your rotate in, because then you will be those squads hanging out underneath Way, struggling to find your way up on the high ground because you were so stuck on the north side of that zone.
Ooh, and you do not want to be stuck up there. But it's crazy because they were fighting off against SJP2 towards that end game, right? And they hail all the way from Lotus, all the way in the north. So you had the complete differential between the top 2, but that's enough yapping for that, because we're getting in to match number 2 here on E-District. How our teams will adapt without Newcastle. Well, they've done it before. They're getting some more experience into it. And honestly, I'm really curious to see what Wet is going to pull out and decide to go without that Newcastle, considering they were running, was Ash, Catalyst, Newcastle game 1, I believe.
Believe so, yeah, actually. So we've been seeing a lot of that catalyst too, as well, alongside the Newcastle. Just helps you so much when it comes to these rotates. Rocking the Ash, Alter, and Catalyst this time around. Okay, this is going to be interesting. They're going to be able to bunker down with the Catalyst. And with Alter having the changes that Alter has now, Tiff, we know you get to pick between being a support legend or being that recon legend to scan surveys if you want, to be able to pick up your teammates' banners, get a Moby here too. But it's all about that information, the different utility, as we know that Catalyst is going to be able to scan these ring consoles to see where they want to start rotating from their POI of Shipyard.
And we wait to see where are we heading. And oh my gosh, did we just get leaked to go to the same place? Now, I was talking about some of the ring pools that we were seeing on E-District kind of being relatively central. And even if we kind of pulled more towards City Hall, I've actually seen an ending on where that respawn beacon is, kind of towards that L by the Evo Harvester. So we've seen pulls there, but last we saw was kind of almost more centered south there. So we saw the mistake of a lot of people going to play on that boardwalk side of things that led to 13 teams. Those are the teams that you mentioned, Vicky, that just all grabbed right on top of each other. But teams that grabbed Street Market, that grabbed Draft Point, Energy Bank, you're looking pretty smart right now on your POI drafts. Just saying.
Yep, draft point still comes out too, right, Tiff? Just hearing Graceful's words in my head right now while Reply Totem calls the evac to already go in for a quick rotate. But that's what it is, right? Because you have the utility out there, you have the Evo Harvester, then you immediately just start quickly rotating once you have that circle beacon, which they already were able to get. So unlike Reply Totem, though, you also have F9, FaZe. Both of these teams already trying to get ahead of the curve, BPR, into going into that next zone. Because like you mentioned, and as we've already seen from game number 1, the teams that had rotated from that north side by City Walk did not have a good time. Having much more success over by the southern side of that next circle pool allows you to have a much higher position to work off of.
Okay, Aurora, look, we really changed some things up. I understand that we got rid of Newcastle, and I understand that Kazakh is now no longer playing Newcastle. We went to hyper aggro here. You're bringing out Mirage. I know you guys have dabbled with it in the past couple of years. You've got the new perk system for him. I love it, but we are just going on that aggressive front that Aurora is known for handling. Now, granted, in their last match day performance, a 5th overall isn't where they wanted. They started off incredibly slow on their first 3 matches before kind of warming up and salvaging it. But to be fair, we just missed Nemesis going out, and I wouldn't have anticipated them. Maybe some difficulties as they were rotating out of Energy Bank, which we knew was going to be troublesome considering you're dead center of the map, and everyone trying to get over to the west side is going to basically jump on top of you.
Yeah, especially for the squads that had already called it an early evac tower, right? And they've already were able to fly towards Energy Bank. Very difficult situation to be in for Nemesis. NIP also involved in their fight, still sticking to the caustic. And with Serdell being on the lifeline, again, I just really love to see the legend diversity that we're forced to be exposed to with these legend bans. NIP, they don't like the situation right there. They would rather just prioritize their rotate when it comes to going through Energy Bank, because they don't want to be late to the rotate if they're going to go through that middle part of the map. I believe looking behind them was Forbidden, and Forbidden could cut them off in the choke that is currently behind NIP when you look to your right. So both of these squads now trying to get ahead of the curve to go into where that southern side of that next zone, that pool that we saw earlier on, north side of Neon Square.
Ooh, Alliance, relatively quiet in game number 1. Only 3 points thus far here. Trying to kind of get in that next center zone, but we're going to see a lot of the same for the mid game, with all of these teams kind of rushing in, plenty of playable space, a lot of poke fighting, and just kind of information gathering that we very well could space without having that Newcastle. And what you bring into play, I love that you already talked about Alter, kind of being able to get that first perk upgrade. You get all the benefits of the support legends, and you can loot from afar, which gives you that Loba perk as well. So I love it so much. And then, you know, you dabble with the abilities like this. So Alliance prepping to kind of make a move here.
It's cool. It makes things interesting too, because what they're preemptively doing here with the portal nexus is they've recognized there is a team right in front of them. There's another team on slight high ground behind them, up on that hilltop. So if they want to try to look to see if they could try to take a risky play, they can immediately reposition with the portal nexus if they could call out that isolated fight. Now, I don't think it's gonna be isolated, because they're in that next zone, and so is basically the rest of the lobby minus like 5 other teams. So just setting themselves up on the low ground and then having that portal nexus up on the high ground until they see where that next next circle pool is going to be their game plan too, because they won't have access to that circle beacon since they've already prioritized their end game rotate.
Ooh, all right. KCP making their appearance here, picking up Stay Healthy. Falcon's going to be the last alive, though, as they go under fire from F9. Babylons and ASCII are not going to let Falcons get out of here. We can't even take any time to try and shield up. It is just done, dusted, out of the lobby in 19th place. But we check in here briefly with Infinite. Now, I do love the positioning. There's just so many teams around in this vicinity, and it looks like WEH and 10K are also kind of setting themselves up for more of the same plan of clearing out that south side before going into endgame again.
Yeah, WEH has no issue just lingering over by Neon Square, where there could get a ring console, see where that next zone's gonna pull to. The next 5 seconds now, F9 hearing the fighting around them. Very similar situation that we saw them in the first game too, while 10K looked to get a little aggressive with the P20s. Still full blue Evo shields here too, but having to be careful. They are getting shot in the distance by another team.
All right. Post kill. Kind of still maintaining this building space. At least you can lock it down. Thankfully, with the piercing spikes on par, you've got the Dark Veil on deck and 30-30 to kind of keep pressure on. Else in the distance, you see Max Strafe going down at the hands of 10K. Likely not going to get that full. They'll probably keep him res, but at least we're able to just keep pressure on everyone. But Francisco just down there on the south side, trying to maybe look for an opening pick that we can just say, hey, we have player advantage off this team.
Oh, this is the beauty of that Portal Nexus. Look how quickly, just repositioning after seeing that there were shots in the distance. I believe it could have been FaZe that were taking shots at them. That's why they couldn't overextend when they did get that initial knock onto UAIM. Trying to find that isolated fight is going to be hard with so many other teams within the vicinity and other buildings too. Taking a look at the edge of the zone. Currently see SJP2. Over by Lotus. They're not the only ones though. The next esports are also over to the south side of this POI, and they're looking to close in the gap here.
Ooh, that's interesting. Max does get fooled and respawned back into it in the grand central of things. 10K still having the ability to use this Void Nexus and keep on putting that pressure straight onto them. And Kashera kind of moving back into that crypto role. I love that we're still seeing him played throughout all of the different regions, and it really just leans into, honestly, Kashera being one of the best cryptos out there.
Oh, absolutely. Like 10 out of 10, we've seen Kashera always pick crypto. He is the crypto when I think about a player that has highlighted the potential of what crypto could do. And with these legend bans, we know that crypto has been that utilized legend here to help out a lot of these players. So when you can play to your strength, what better player to highlight than Kashera? As we take a look at where the next zone is pulling, look how many teams, Tiff, have already found their space in these buildings. Still more squads, though, that will struggle a little bit when it comes to rotating through these chokes.
Yeah, I was really curious what SJP2 was going to do kind of coming out of the north at the very last minute. They did have a ring console that was down towards the right, but I'm not sure if they hit it to know where specifically they needed to lean towards going into that. Because once you play for ring 3 advantage, it kind of helps you dictate which side you need to be on, considering the betrayal that we witnessed in game number 1 here today. So Gaimin Gladiators forbidden. A lot of teams that don't want to make that mistake, which is why I love WEH kind of hanging out still in Neon Square before committing. The issue is with a lot of teams preemptively playing for that, they're gonna get held out.
It's gonna be really hard here. I'm even thinking about that north side too, right? Where we saw BPR and Infinite. Team Nemesis, the Nemesis still alive in the lobby. 17 squads still left. Round 2 closing in the next 42 seconds. See the Ash there too in the distance on that door. There is a team staring at them too after they were able to clean up the KP that they needed. Bunkering down with the Catalyst, barricading the doors here. Nice flyby and overhead of Aurora. Who are also in the distance over by that bridge side. They're gonna completely wrap around the zone, it looks like. And if they go from the south side in that next choke, they will inevitably run into VC Go. And taking their time to rotate is also UAIM. So if they take this fight, they are at risk of a third party here.
I'm just kind of intrigued by this, right? We don't get the fast-paced movement for the whole team with the Ash. You don't get the altar to help them kind of navigate throughout their cube with the top to low ground. So you really just have to make plays off the Bangalore smoke and the ballistic ultimate. So they're just going to have to barricade straight through anyone on edge, which is very much like their typical playstyle. I just really hope it works out for them. For Annex Esports here, kind of playing off these stairs. Sure, you're on this eastern side of things. You want to control this space here, getting into that next circle. But what I don't want is for Pengu Power here to challenge them, and then we go down earlier. Or, you know, hey, they do. We don't want an angry penguin. We saw what the penguin looks like with the anvil and hammer.
Honestly, very intimidating out here. Penguins also being one of my favorite animals, just to say, you know. Okay. I do like some of these 30-30 shots I did see here from Annex. You see that they were able to put in at least a little bit of pressure, but still not trying to commit over to that side. A little risky, but at least you have some time as we take a look at the overhead. As Annex, you could see them over to that east side that Tiff had mentioned. Pengu Power still holding on to that Evo Harvester over to the north side. It could be an isolated fight right here too, but it would be a shame if BPR were to grief them. I don't expect that to happen though. They're pretty settled inside that building before they will inevitably have to move beyond that Mystic Bin where we currently see Alliance hanging out by the Wraith Portal too. So many squads, though, already in that final zone. Reply Totem, NIP, Gaimin, Gladiators, Alliance inside of their own building here, too. WEH and Forbidden also looking at each other, having a stare down through these chokes. But eventually, one of them is going to have to start moving if they can find some space, because Gaimin and Gladiators will be waiting for them inside that next zone. And 10K could just wrap up behind them to sandwich both of these squads.
Ooh, and I love that position there for Gaimin Gladiators, but some of the playable spaces will be difficult without that Newcastle, thanks to the Legend ban. And you can already see Aurora feeling that pressure. Sure, they popped the ballistic ultimate and we're kind of trying to work and rotate with the speed boost accordingly throughout that, but they're just going to keep on wrapping north of SJP2, but you can only deny this fight for so long elsewhere. Annex Esports, we knew that was happening. Pengu Power finally moved on in, and here goes Aurora being completely decimated, though. Oidrain tries to hold on and see if we can put the finishing blows in. Not going to be able to do it. SJP2 racking up more kills, looking pretty solid today.
And being able to get the reset here too is huge here for them. And it looks like the Mirage did not work out for Aurora this time around. No bamboozling to be done with 15 squads still left. In round 4, Tiff, I'm noticing that trend here with an E district. Because there's so much space to coexist, we're having more and more teams stay alive for the final zone.
Honestly, it's fun. It's 3 less than last game, but I'll take it considering the ring has moved even further over towards that east-southern side of City Hall, and teams are still trying to play for it. But that fight, that Pengu Power there wins, gives them a free rotate into that next circle with no one to challenge them. Now, we could see some late plays to steal that space, but it's going to be nice. Meanwhile, WEH, your first map winner of the day. I'd love to jump in and hear what they're thinking.
Нет, знаешь-ка я не дотягиваюсь. Надо стенку, надо стенку вот сюда и вот сюда подойти. Слышишь меня? Давай стенку, давай стенку. Нет, просто, да, от правых и погнали. Давай стенку.
Давай.
Хасан.
Дал.
На меня пройдите. Еще, как мужчины. Дал ТП, заходим.
Ага.
Могут сверху попекать. Я зашел.
Выхожу вперед.
Зайти. Больших банок у меня нет.
Да, ладно.
Все good.
Все, хайп. Я уже голых женщин смотрю на ютубе.
Окна, осторожно, ребят.
Да,
верхний этаж может втроем пикнуть лестницу. Просто они могут втроем что-то сделать.
Вдвоем зафокуситесь и просто...
Пушки нужны человеческие, пушки человеческие нужны.
Да, чтобы не
просто две туда, на 3.
Окей.
Да. Я чуть понаглею, посмотри, что происходит.
I love the passion that we're hearing from WEH, okay? You can see it in their voice. You could rather hear it in their voice. Can't see it, unfortunately, but you can hear it in their voice. You could see it in their positioning and the way that they're looking on each angle to try to see other squads that could be within their line of sight. Another team right on top of them. There's like 4 teams sharing this building right now. VC Go are trying to run for their life while WEH are looking around. They're still getting even more KP while they're at it.
All right, well, F9 down in 15th place, and it looks like we're about to get some EMP action coming through. Have no fear, still trying to hold the stairways as you see Totem up above and Alliance C picking up more kills along the way. Can we get unlucky? Back up on their feet, a nice little regain. Some nades to kind of isolate alongside the piercing spikes. We do not want anyone coming through these doors until we are fully set up. We do lose out on SJP2, who had just won that fight against Aurora, but things are just going to break out in an absolute brawl here.
This is what you're talking about before, Tiff. When the circle betrays you and completely pulls away from what you were expecting. WEH still alongside 10K. Reply Totem. Infinite get eliminated. 11 squads left. BPR getting some of the KP that they need themselves here. Looking to open up the Nexus, a reposition, and this is the beauty. Now you're right back on high ground. You have to make sure no other team has taken the space that you gave up to engage on the fight right down below you. Looks like you do see a team right in the distance. They have to start moving soon, too. You got less than 30 seconds between the squads in the north side to make their next move into the next zone. And you highlighted something, Tiff. Pengu Power being completely cleared on the east side of their zone.
I do love that, but Gaimin Gladiators could be a one to threaten them. If they kind of move out of here and decide to encroach on Pengu Power's territory on the eastern side of things, the big deal is you've got 5 teams over to your left side of things. So if they all push you straight in, you just basically get sandwiched. And it's uncomfortable. We don't have Newcastle. You've just got Catalyst for the Dark Veil to have that on rotation and to cut off those lines of sides. You already see Alliance here with the Dark Veil on their left, just hunkering down, trying to keep healthy, going under fire from all of the nades. Let's see what Team Nemesis can do here. Noise is down.
They got a trade for trade, though, with Hockey's being able to get that knock. See what Team Nemesis could do on the other side. Looks like not feeling confident after losing out of one and the ring closing right behind their back. They're feeling the pressure. Alliance, with just Hockey's alive, is trying to make the magic happen with the Havoc. Can he pull off the shield bat? He looks up and his head gets blown off. VC Go also claimed them, as VC Go are also going to try to contain Nemesis from the low ground. No one's really looking at them from the building right now with the zone closing in.
At this point, we lose Forbidden as well. Reply Totem says, I want to get into the action. They dive straight into NIP. VC Go falls. The P2020s are trying to make it work. They're so good with the TTK and how much they've been working throughout. But Gaimin Gladiators, no surprise to trying to get a ton of kills, but looking for that average placement. Look at this, Vicky, into the top 5. But who's going to challenge Pengu Power, who cleared out the East?
Tiff, we just saw like 13 squads all the way down to 5 in an instant. This is what we were expecting here. It's difficult when you're stuck on the other side of where this next zone is pulling. 10K. The P20s can't clutch it for them. Kashira gets taken out. 3 squads left right now, and Pengu Power from the other side now moving to look at BPR and Gaimin Gladiators.
Oh, Pengu racking up more kills here now, versing Gaimin Gladiators in a nice 3v3, and it's Phoenix who just walks up the stairs, walks into a match 2 victory, and you do not anger the Penguins, because this is what happens.
Tiff, you called out Pengu Power's power move there perfectly. Being able to contain that entire east side of the map allowed them to be the least contested squad in that next zone, walking up for free and taking care of the Gaimin Gladiators just to take the dub on top of it all.
I mean, that was just a pure, beautiful execution of an end game. That's all about timing of your calls, knowing when is the perfect moment to push into those last fights. It's really just analyzing the kill feed, seeing where teams are moving and keeping things going. Let's go ahead and pull up the match results and see just how many kills they were able to walk away with alongside that. 7 with their 12 placement points, 19. Look, that's a stellar game. That's a good match 2 here.
Absolutely. It's been very KP heavy, honestly, for some of our top squads on E District, even in game number 1, right? When we saw WEH win with 13 KP, but it's Pengu Power this time with 7 KP. Gaimin Gladiators still being able to find that KP, and they heard me talking about them too, Tiff. Now being able to achieve the placement points that they also need to keep themselves up in contention. BPR with a KP here, and looking at our top 3 stats too, side by side. Pengu Power again with that 7 KP, 3K damage overall. Almost matching that with BPR, who almost were only 1 point away from breaking 3K. But I'm also looking specifically at Knights, who were able to get 4 KP here and 1500 damage, really helping out the BPR squad. And then Pengu Power kind of even across the board for everybody here on this squad.
Ooh, I do love looking at some good stats, and I feel like 1500 is solid as we walk into the series results here. WEH, after stellar performance with 25 points in match number 1, they still hold the top of the leaderboard at 30. Team Nemesis and Pengu Powers trying to kind of get back into the mix of things, but honestly, it's still anyone's game. I can't even believe we're done with the first 2, which means we only have one more map to go on E District. But Vicky, that late mid game, as we're getting ready for the end game, where we lose out on maybe 18 to 15 teams down to literally 6 or 5, it's probably one of the scariest moments I've witnessed in ALGS.
It's been absolutely insane, and I can't wait to see the action keep it going as we move on to game number 3 on the other side of this break on E District.
ただオーブガーデンエゴイストは逃げ切れませんでした。オーブガーデン全滅へ残りは2部隊。ただ01が圧倒的有利なポジション取っている。ただ3人ともハイグラウンド取り切り。キドトロプ残り1枚。ユカペロデターに託されました。フェーズティアで前に詰めていく。01がチャンピオン獲得。RRX 落とされてますね。オーブガーデンに。オーブガーデンのファイト、そうなるとアルデブチャンピオンあるぞ。一番フリーだ。外に出てきたオーブガーデン、ファイト勝ちきれるか。オーブガーデンが先にやられる。アルネブは製造した状態。さあアルネブ初のそのテルミットニュービーアインガーボルを落とした。これで戦況変わってくるか。こうなると争点も先にアイン倒す判断になりそうですよ。はい、アインは後ろをつくような動き。さあ前にいた争点を先に倒したビッグハングのブラザーズ。いやアインは素晴らしい逃げになりました。最後はビッグハング。さあそうなると01が圧倒的有利か。ストライダーズも南に対して圧力。こっちで全部やり合ってくれると01が有利になりますね。中にいた重ねてますよ。アルネブが狙われる格好となったか。リドローダーアルネブ全滅戦のこれは2部隊。01とストライダーズ上を取ってるのが01マンドック。さあ01、2回目のチャンピオン獲得。あのチームビッグハンギョのブラザーズが上を取るような格好となった。奥にいたのが TIE。 さあビッグハンギョのブラザーズ耐えられている。アルネブが落ちた。 RRX 持ってますよ。 TIE そして RRX が下にいる。 TIE はこの位置でどうヘイトを向かせないか。さあただここは押し切って RRX 取り切りました。 TIE 残り1枚。海ちゃんラムチ。しかしハンギョドンブラザーズ受けている中でエンターフォース圧力かけに行くか。かなり削られてますよ。中に一気に入っていった。 SBI を取り切れるか。ただ残り ED のみです。エンターフォース落ちてしまう。残り3下から装填。ニュービーもダメージが甚大。残り1枚か。そして SBI との真正面のファイトになる。さあ残り1枚。ツブはさあイグルを挟み込み格好で装填。
Sony InZone, the official monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, everyone. Pengu Power, they take game number 2 on E District, and it's becoming more noticeable, Genome, as we welcome you back, that a lot of teams are living until like round 4, round 5 here, where most of the chaos brings us down to like last 5 squads for a lot of the action.
Yeah, it's it was so much fun on E District. It always is. It's crazy that we've had 2 circles basically back to back in very similar locations. It does kind of feel like we're almost back to the repeat final circle sort of period that we had maybe, what was that, like 12, 18 months ago?
Right? Yeah, like I get a little bit of PTSD when I come to see like so many similar circles at the same time, and then seeing them back to back too on E District, where I feel like we saw most of the end zones happen like in the middle part of E District, kind of not really happening this time around. Right now going over to that northwestern side, and a lot of the action that we were talking about here really played things out on the edge of the zone.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing how good Alta is in these sort of final end circles, just being able to pop right in and out. And here at this point, Phoenix decides, you know, can't mantle. If there's one thing that gets you killed in Apex, is just mantling straight in front of people. Does manage to find a nice angle from behind. And they take the dub. So yeah, solid work from Pengu Power. That puts them up into 3rd spot overall, I believe, with 20 points. But it's actually a fairly tight lobby. No one really running away with it at the moment. WH with 1 win and 1 solid performance will be on 30 points overall. But yeah, it's still definitely anyone's game.
I love how volatile it's been, honestly. So much KP spreading across our top end of the overall standings here, seeing that evenness with WH having those 30 points. Pengu Power now bringing themselves up to 20. That's 2 games down for E District. 1 more to go, and we say goodbye to Alter next.
Yep, so that's an Alter pick gone. Makes a lot of sense, obviously. In that second game, she was up to 90% pick rate. Catalyst was sitting at 75%, which is quite a ways above Ash, sitting at 40%. So we're probably going to see Catalyst go in game number 3.
See how that works out, especially seeing how many of these teams have been rocking the Catalyst, utilizing the catwall so that way they could go in for some of these trickier rotates here. That's going to be quite interesting too, Gino, because again, we do have Broken Moon on the other side after E District. So going into our final game on E District before making that transition onto Broken Moon is going to be quite interesting here now. We get to say bye to Alter and Newcastle.
2 very important picks, and with those gone, obviously, unfortunately, it's a little sad for me personally, because as you said, you can make, there's so many plays that you can make with Alter you just cannot do in other ways, because, you know, I guess like her name suggests, she alters the game in some pretty fundamental ways.
Optics here. Close range.
Makes things really exciting for me too. It allows you to really see how teams can make those adjustments when they find certain difficult rotates or what they feel like they're lacking on and what they have to do as basically the makeshift band-aid for the legend that they're forced to play if they're not used to it. Pengu Power, though, the team that had completely cleared the east side of that next zone, had a lot easier of a time on rotating to try to 3P our final 3 squads fighting. Now going to be able to come out of their POI here, make their quick rotate.
Yeah, a couple of those teams who were playing Alter have picked up Ballistic. You can see there's been an uptick in that aggressive character across the board now. A couple other teams I think will also pick up Ash here. And yeah, Ninjas in Pyjamas, still the sole holdout with the Caustic. I would love to hear their views on why they've gone for that character. I feel like it's almost... He's almost like a remnant of the past now, Vicky.
Good.
Because just disagree, but you know, respectfully, he's just so slow, right? And when you look at with all the characters we've got here, you've got Ash, she can dash around. She's got Portal. You've got Ballistic. When he pops his ult, Tempest, everyone is moving faster all of a sudden. And there's just all of these ways that you can really move around so quickly. And it feels like Caustic is just a little too slow to go up against this new wave of legends.
Yeah, honestly, jokes aside, I do agree. You know, I got the early season PTSD out here, but we haven't seen Caustic in so long, and that's not the only thing they're running too, right? They're also running the Lifeline, while Alliance are making the Ballistic work in beautiful ways. I have a lot to say about Ballistic, let me tell you, especially the things that I've seen within my own games and what we've seen thus far within scrims and our last 2 match days. Alliance chasing down after the Ballistic straggler. Blood in the water here for Alliance. They want to get even more KP here. They know they've come close, and as they slide in, they get the final blow here, and still splitting up a little bit is going to be NX Esports. See if they can find the other players here as they try to skirmish around.
Yeah, boom. I think that's the they get the finish off there. One of the other Annex members is way on the edge of the map right now. So yeah, you can see Jans has managed to make it out. So we'll have to look for a crafter, but he's potentially going to run into Pengu Power, who's actually just ahead of him here in Heights. So it could be a rough one for Annex Esports, but Alliance happy to open the account early.
Nothing to see here, because right next to Next Esports is Pengu Power, who have not noticed Jans. So he's going to be able to get away here. Still going to be able to now rotate over to the south side of height. Hopefully, there's a replicator there for them to work with here. Team Nemesis, though, on the high ground. Rampage was singing in the sling. Yeah, they're already charged up here. And looking at the team right below them, too. One of the teams rocking the Mirage here as well. Love seeing the different variations that we have from our squads deciding to go for what they feel like is best here. While FaZe are looking to start engaging.
Yeah, I'd be fascinated to see what perks they're picking on Mirage, actually. We can talk about that in a sec because FaZe is getting into it here. They're fighting against SJP2, and they've been on such a tear so far in this series that I'm a little bit scared here for Synetic as he goes up against Denze. But you can see he's got him dead to rights. There we go. A knock with the tether. Has to use his dash to get away and cancel the bat because of some well-placed grenades.
Oh, but they're getting the res. You can see the pings, the massive pings to see if he could just try to stop them. They were so low. He drops down. He tries to go for a steal swap, but he picks up the banner instead. Can he do it? No! The final shot, the final blow that forces FaZe Clan to exit from the lobby. But the clutch from 7 to keep SJP2 alive in this game.
Yeah, it was an awesome clutch there by SJP2. Those guys looking mechanically very scary right now.
Synetic looks scary there too. That was almost a clutch 1v3, honestly. There would have been crazy, but got a GG go next now, and they get to reset instead. But we get to see them start making their rotate. They're not the only ones too. On the outskirts, playing on the edges, we always usually see Gaimin Gladiators are slowly approaching NIP, and NIP playing a little split up to try to see if they could get anything that they need here. Because of course they could try to see, they could just reset there, get right back to the rest of the squad because they have a Wraith, so they could utilize that portal to try to take a different position. Pengu Power though, another squad that we were looking at to see if there's anybody on their rotate through the choke.
NX have got the respawn behind them. Alliance also up in Electro Dam behind them. So it just depends on how fast Pengu Power decide to play this. In the meanwhile, KCP, oh, he's left enough of a gap there that Slab could actually go through, and that could have been very dangerous. I think that KCP's actually gotten away with murder there.
Oh, and look how low they were there too initially, like you had mentioned. Now looking all over to the other side, Forbidden trying to take different angles. That cat wall though, trying to speed up the approach here. Gets the next knock here. KCP get eliminated, and Forbidden in a nice patient fight there were able to force their way up on top of those stairs.
Yeah, I think honestly that's kind of on the catalyst there. There was an option to set that wall in a way that blocked pretty much all of the top, but they don't execute it correctly, and they go down as a result. In the meantime, let's listen to Alliance here and see what they've got to say about this next rotation.
On the right, I think. 20 flash on cut.
Castle left, castle left.
I'm taking the tower.
Taking the tower. Listen, dead.
20 left, 20 left, 20 left. I'm not with you.
Buff hit. I'm on cut. I mean, Ash.
You are there?
Low down.
Cut one. In front of me, both of them.
Yeah, one crossing.
Ash low.
One little ball.
Nice.
Oh my god.
Cut close.
Yeah, running. He's running.
Where?
Southeast.
Have you seen him?
Behind us.
Yeah. Oh, I bet the fucking... Here.
Yeah, I see him.
He's going zone or was it like...
Yeah, just chasing him. He's right in front of us.
You see the chuck? I hit him. This way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 90% TP. I'm calling off his right side, you guys are left.
He's gone left.
Yeah.
I'm back, pussy. Nobody ever runs and screams. What are you doing? This is not
I'm
realistic.
getting cash.
He's on me.
Where's he? Coming?
He's just still on me.
Yep. I'm not killing. I'm staying red. Try me crack. One.
Nice. You guys got that?
Yes. Not that.
Good shit. Alright, I'm scouting forward with 30 seconds zone. We gotta get energy bank, scan zone 3, and then walk in.
Me would have let you rot. Get downed again, and I still might.
Okay, so Alliance grab a nice couple of kills there. Of course, that was Annex Esports. Take a little bit of damage in zone. Pengu Power were not able to double dip on those kills, I guess you could say. They've made it far further south down all the way towards the Energy Bank. So Alliance now, they don't even take that much zone damage in the end, honestly. So this is actually a killer spot for Alliance because they can pull in further. They've got Catalyst, so of course that means they can scan the ring in Energy Bank and they will have fantastic priority into this next zone because I don't know if we can get a look at the zone at some point, but all the teams are actually clustered not where the zone is ending. They've read it as a far more sort of southwesterly zone, and it's actually swinging back towards Energy Bank compared to where most of the teams are sitting around, Vicky.
Yeah, it's that really weird, like, north of draft point, like northwest side of draft point, where you would find yourself like rotating through like the canal there over to the left side, and majority of the teams in this lobby have completely banked on being over to the far west side. So probably maybe predicting that it could have gone more so towards like that street market on the outskirts of street market side, and it's not. So Gaimin Gladiators now find themselves in a scrabble, seeing as they approach from that north side. I believe F9 are neighboring them here before they try to fully send it onto them. Nemesis get eliminated too. Nobody gets left here unchecked inside of these little shop markets.
Okay, so there's that vision that we were talking about. Alliance scanned and are now heading into an awesome spot. And as you can see, there's this massive cluster of teams towards the west side, and they're about to realize that they all have to head in towards the canals. And at that point, it's going to be bedlam.
It's going to be absolutely SJP2 too. It's in the team right next to them before they bunker down here up on this building with the Catalyst. It's Alliance meeting them on the other side. And there's other teams that are going to get a whiff of this, seeing how that zone completely now has shifted, and we get to see where that next zone pool is. For the squads that did have that ring console information, you see Gaimin Gladiators now start approaching the fight that we currently see between Alliance and SJP2. Ooh, Unlucky.
Jumping in.
Man, Unlucky's just been great here today. I mean, he's great all the time, but here he goes, gets another knock. Hawkins gets taken out next. Unlucky just cleaning up heads, gets the res here. Here's GG with the 3P that we were expecting.
Okay, the third party comes in though, and just as we were saying, you know, SJP have been doing such a great job in fights, but Alliance are a different breed, but they can't fight the third party. That's such an easy cleanup from GG. Good spot recognition, you know, realizing the teams were trading, and Alliance essentially had no chance to push that back once GG have now taken over what will be an excellent spot in the zone. You're seeing there's about 7 teams that are going to have to crush themselves into very ugly spots towards the eastern side here.
Yeah, look at the other squads too within the vicinity. Look how many teams are still not in that next zone that are going to be going through that choke over to the west side by the Replicator. BPR closest to the Replicator. 10K wrapping up from the north side of the Evil Harvester, or F9 struggling to see if they could find their space too right to the north side. They have found maybe a building right alongside Infinite, it looks like. But seeing how many other teams that are going to have to force their way through these chokes is going to be brutal.
Okay, Crypto EMP does come in. Reply Totem trying to pop bats. You can see it just trying to deal with the drone as well. I think he might have actually been pushed out of that by the grenade. That seemed, it didn't seem like a spot he wanted to be in. And certainly, Reply Totem do not love going down as the 14th team here.
WEH have just been playing so well now. They have full Evo here, full purple Evo rather, and they're trying to run from the zone. They see the team that's playing right underneath them, but they have high ground advantage while they do make the rotate. And nobody to really meet them on the other side of this bridge, minus maybe NIP that could be on the other side if they're also on the high ground. If they're not careful though, they may have to forcibly just drop down here, but luckily they do have the Catalyst wall if they can try to get this reset.
Yeah, it looks like they're just trying to work out where the other teams are, where the threats are. You can see the thought process. Do I Catalyst wall across the bridge to block off shots that are coming in from there, or is it the left and right side? Either way, looks like they might actually grab the reset here as GG light dashes in on Aurora.
Oh man, being able to get that knock first here from Oi. Rain Blast, oh, he lets the Rampage sing, but he doesn't get the final blow. Luck of the last one alive for Gaimin Gladiators right now, seeing if he could try to take a different angle.
Yeah, and you can see actually just finds a nice little shield swap here. Aurora down to 1 as well. So in the 1 versus 1, it's going to be Nemesis who come in and say, well, yeah, you wish you could get a clean fight. It's going to be us. This building is just a third-party magnet.
Literally just a whole graveyard of death boxes inside this entire building. I'd feel suspicious here, but Team Nemesis have claimed the high ground while overlooking the teams right below them. They're not in the next zone, though. The zone will be pulling over to their south side. They originally were looking at 10K, but 10K in a little bit of a better position here when it comes to trying to decide where they want to go over to the north side of this next zone, as this nice little overhead highlights for you. F9 Infinite still sharing side by side those buildings. A lot of the action, though, happening over to the south side. NIP now they engage here over to that southern building. It is against NIP and WEH. NIP get eliminated, and Forbidden in the distance get to take some free shots from the high ground.
And this is why Ledger Bands is just insane, right? Because you're seeing, especially in end zones like this, without Newcastle, it is incredibly hard to stay alive. Everyone is struggling to find good spots here, and the power positions like Forbidden have picked up here on the high ground, where they do have actual hard cover as well, are just so much more powerful than the spots below.
It's huge here, being able to have this positional advantage as well. BPR, the team that's right underneath Forbidden. Pengu Power over by the choke from the east side. Forbidden has to split their attention to 2 teams, while currently Postgale is going to be able to get that knockout to Max Strafing in your feed. 10K looking to see what they could do while they still maintain a much more patient approach on the north side of the zone, not trying to fully commit onto UAIM.
Yeah, only 9 squads left alive as we head into round 5 now. That's a fairly low number at this point in the game, and yeah, as we said, of course, that is because the teams just don't have enough cover to rely on. They've got lots of movement options, lots of rotational, less micro rotation options in terms of the Wraith, the Catalyst, and the Ash, but if they get caught off guard by another team, it can be very tough, and UAIM is the next to fall.
8 squads left now. You hear the P20 still singing in this entire game. No surprise. Postkill backs away here. See the move up on top of the bridge. So many squads, the majority of the team still congested on the northern side of this zone. VC Go, Team Nemesis, Infinite, F9, 10K, all looking at each other while neighboring some of these buildings, whereas Forbidden and Pengu Power really uncontested on the south side. I do like the position from BPR because they're the only team that could see what situation's happening from either the northern squads or the southern 2 teams that are going to fight and decide whether they could 3P the southern teams, Forbidden versus Pengu Power, and then play off the only team that has nobody to contest them on the southern side of the zone.
Yeah, I agree. BPR, they can be a lot more reactive. They don't necessarily have to be proactive in this situation, whereas all the teams up north, Pengu Power, they've got Forbidden below them. It's a really, that's the only 2 teams that are down on this southern side, and they're actually going to be fighting for Godspot.
Oh, the EMP from the distance actually forcing them to play at a disadvantage here. Pengu Power now coming in. Forbidden finally collapse on each other, and guess who hears this fight? But they're not going to collapse on them. It's BPR who are actually on the north side, not going to actually try to go for a 3P on Pengu Power versus Forbidden. But you know who is? Infinite, that see the opportunity, that see now they can move from the north side uncontested to 3P this fight. They move in from the inside of the zone, and they completely annihilate Forbidden, and they completely now go on to Pengu Power. They get eliminated. 5 squads left, and this is that 3v3 that we were expecting now from Infinite.
Oh, wow. Infinite, they actually managed to cross all the way from the low ground up the hill across a very open, area of space to 3P that, but they're not rewarded with the spot. As you can see, Forbidden have remained in there. I don't know why they didn't push the last remaining members of Forbidden. I think Infinite probably would have won that fight.
I feel like they were also just trying to be more aware of the teams that could take their old spot if they found out they had moved from the building that they were in originally from the north side. So they wanted to play it safe. Now moving all the way back to the escalation that we saw over to the north side by VC Go and F9, but still paying attention to Forbidden at the same time. So VC Go on the low ground. A little tricky, but they could play out of the line of sight of the teams up on high ground too.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they've just left their fate in the hands of others now. It's a gamble. I mean, any one of these sort of 4 or 5 teams up the top could run into each other and cause problems for Infinite now, whereas I really think it would have been up to them and how they played it had they stayed up and tried to take that fight against Forbidden.
Wow, look how much space people could just coexist here. The different raid portals dancing around, the EMP at that, going from outside the zone to in zone. I don't even think they know where they're going to be going. As F9 are trying to struggle to stay alive here. They try. They keep getting taken down. VC Go are harassing them. BPR get eliminated. They were caught out in the open from F9. They take the raid portal right back to rejoin together. Having to be careful with VC Go still in the distance. They do not want to get sandwiched here with Forbidden uncontested now on the south side looking at Infinite.
Infinite are currently paying for their decision. You can see Infinite, Forbidden taking angles off them, knocking them, and Forbidden, due to the mercy of Infinite, look like they will be able to pick up this game.
Forbidden versus VC Go right now. VC Go, they get the trade originally. Forbidden only has Slab. Slab has some ult all the way up on the high ground. They're already low. Hit the P20s. That's all you gotta do. No rest for you. They try to go for the shield. Slab goes down. He gets a shield swap. He's still shooting them up on top. He slides down, gets a dash, and a huge win here for Slab to take the dub for Forbidden for game number 3.
Massive there. That was a bit iffy. It was a bit close, but Slab, such a gifted player, comes out with the clutch there. You could see, I think his teammate was trying to block him with the knockdown shield and try to give him help in that way, but it actually ended up blocking about a half a clip of the P2020s and almost cost them.
That was scary. A little bit of a messy work there, but when you get the clutch and you're on the Ashe, I mean, if anything, the last person being alive being your Ashe is a perfect situation for you to have in a case like that. Forbidden take the dub, and look how much KP they cleaned up. 15 KP on top of the dub for Forbidden to win.
Oh, wow. That's a big stack of points there for Forbidden to start making their way into the higher levels of this lobby right now. But even VC Go putting up 15, Infinite with 11 as well. Seeing, honestly, a more even sort of spread of points in this lobby than I've seen in some others this weekend in Pro League.
It's crazy to see how much KP too, even from VC Go with 6 KP. Infinite still on top here with 4 KP, finding that consistency. But even on the other side, Alliance, they got the 7 KP, but failed to land the mark with the placement here. We take a look at the stats after these match results. It's just been great to see who our top performers are. Slab with the 7 KP. 7-2 with 3 revives. Okay. 0-0 though. Coming in with 11 assists. Slab with a 2.3K. That needs to be a highlight clip right there for Slab because he absolutely popped off in that game for Forbidden.
Yeah, I mean, he is an Apex Predator. He is a warlord. I think they're fitting titles for Slab as he pushes his team almost to the top of the leaderboard here. Second place in 29, but actually a little behind WEH, who are sitting now on 37 points. And as you can see in the banned legend section up the top there, Catalyst was the 3rd legend banned.
Well, y'all absolutely crushed that.
Tiff.
Y'all crushed that.
I was gonna say, would love seeing you here.
I know, I just gotta pop on and I'm telling you, we gotta keep Genome from, no, he was actually saying some really nice things. I thought it was quite interesting. Hey, you did, let's be real. That was pretty interesting. And I love that you guys kind of broke down the specific part about how Forbidden survived holding on to their Gone spot despite Pengu Power initially trying to rip them from it. Honestly, they just need to send Infinite like a very nice thank you letter at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some, like, you know, if they've got any leftover Easter chocolate or anything like that, I think there should be some buddies going their way.
Definitely. Let's go ahead. So guys, I mean, now that we're halfway through the action, done and dusted with E-District, I'd love to go ahead and move into kind of our halftime segment of ALGS. And of course, today we have got none other than MG Clutch. So MG, welcome. Thank you so much for spending the show with us. What are your thoughts on E-District being back thus far?
Honestly, probably like my favorite comp map now. Like, I know the zones are kind of repeating a lot, like the ones pulling like City Hall, but the map feels really good. There's always like playable space to play. There's like a lot of good rotations. Like all the POIs feel pretty even. Like, I just really enjoy the map.
I love this. Okay, we're gonna keep you on every week now because positivity coming through. I feel like we're getting rid of all the positivity right now because you know what you signed up for, bringing on your energy here today. We have this segment that Vicky's gonna kind of kick off. It is that hot take segment. So we're gonna get Vicky's and then we're gonna bounce on over to you. So think about what you're gonna say because I'm ready to kind of get everyone talking.
Yeah, so I have a lot to say here, and I want to hear a lot more too from MG Clutch later on. Originally, Gino and I share the same brain cells, so I had something completely else that I really wanted to highlight on, but I'll let Gino take that, and you have to wait for his hot take in the America show. But my hot take right now for our show is that Valk is busted and nobody is using Valkyrie right now. Valkyrie is actually slept on is what I'm trying to say. She's an incredibly slept on legend and people should be using her to get through these tight chokes, especially when you don't have an altar to play because altar gets banned on E District. You could have the ability to have Valkyrie get way higher with her perks so that way she could go through a lot of these more tougher chokes, and then you have the ability to literally scan through buildings and see which of the buildings are free preemptively before you even land. So I think Valkyrie is an incredibly slept on legend, especially when we have so many other individual players that do well with her. I think we saw Max Strafey actually try out on E District, but not being able to find other teams like take advantage of what she has to bring to the table. And then at the same time, Ballistic's ridiculous. Oh, is that my time? Ballistic is busted. That's all I gotta say. Auto lock on the ability is ridiculous, and not enough people are also talking about how strong Ballistic is. Is that my timer? This is the first time I've done one of these.
I think so. I think so. Now MG's gonna have to one-up you here. Let's be real. What do you got for us?
I think like the legend ban and draft ban system have actually made comp easier. So there's like two parts to it. Like first is like basically all the good teams basically always had the best POIs. For new players coming in, like especially like my team, we would not have had a good POI. We would have been stuck with some rations in the middle of nowhere, no beacon, no nothing. Walking in the zone with 4 sails, maybe 1 bad share between all 3 of us. And as well as the legend bans, it basically means that now people cannot crutch characters. So all these like OG players who have been stuck playing Bang cannot just crutch that character anymore. We now have the freedom to play multiple different characters, and it actually shows because it doesn't feel like the skill gap was as big as it used to be. We're now having like multiple opportunities to fight different fights that were never actually taken before. Like with Ash being meta, Ash being banned game 1, then we could switch on to a different legend like Alter, and if Alter gets banned, we could switch on to something different. It doesn't always feel like we're forced to play something to counter something else. Like we always have options, and I like that because it feels like there's a huge amount of skill expression right now that there wasn't before, but I still think that it's made it easier.
Ooh, honestly, I love it. I personally love that take. Can we even consider that a hot take, Genome? Because I feel like he was just speaking the truth.
Well, I think it's interesting when you say easier, like obviously you were sort of referencing yourself there, but it depends on which teams you're looking at, right? Because it's probably made it harder for teams at the top because they, as you say, they used to have god POIs on every map they went to, and now they actually have more balanced POIs compared to the rest of the lobby. So it's kind of even things up overall.
Oh, completely.
Yeah, all right. I agree. Well, that was our hot takes. And chat, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on who you agree with, or if you don't agree with either of those, get talking on a social media because we love to read it. Which, speaking of, guys, we do still love to read all of your chat. Now, I don't know if we were able to pull some things off around social media, whether it was on Twitter, whether it was Reddit. So I'll kind of wait and see, but it looks like that's maybe a no. And we're going to go ahead and send MG back. It was so nice to have him here on the show. So we wish you the best of luck on your next playthroughs. Wait, no, he's still here. What's going on? I'm confused. Tell me something good. Give me the news.
I don't know. I'm just still here.
Should we throw some questions at him?
Yeah, let's do it. Honestly, Genome, what you got? What you got for MG?
Well, I was having a look at some of the stats earlier, and if I'm not wrong, you played Pathfinder 3 times in the last Pro League day. Is that correct? Are these stats lying to me?
Yeah, we played Pathfinder Lifeline in the first Pro League game day. Basically, like, with our playstyle, forcing, like, bad characters that don't have... So there's only, like, 2 good beacon characters. It's Fuse and Cat. And if we don't have any of those available on Edge, like, what else can we do? Like, our playstyle is to wait for third beacon and then rotate in the God spot. And the only other available option is Pathfinder in that case. And then the reason we picked Lifeline is because with Newcastle banned, it allows us to basically slam buildings or slam fights and have good reset ability with her ult and her passive. Like, I think she's really, really OP right now. Plus, she counters Crypto because Crypto EMP does not destroy her ult. So, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's an awesome point, actually, because yeah, obviously there's so much crypto being played right now, and it does destroy a lot. Did you think about Rampart at all? Because obviously she's one of the other characters that you can get set up with when Newcastle is banned, but some teams, you know, sort of, I think not prioritizing her as much as others.
I don't really like Rampart because I feel like you're kind of forced into like a playstyle where you're holding a spot and you don't really have freedom to like expand that spot in a sense, right? So like we prefer to play characters that allow us to control space, expand on that space, clear a side of zone, and then like once we clear that side of zone, we can like play that side of zone in. So I think like Rampart just doesn't really suit us. It's not that good for like our style of play.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's
makes
interesting.
sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I only saw a ton of Rampart coming through on APAC North, a little bit in the Americas. I think we had every controller legend played at one point during A and C last night in APAC North. But thank you guys so much. I love hearing that, especially if you're gonna bring back Pathfinder. Like, I still love seeing him in play and think there's utilization for it. But we are actually going to dive now into the What Does Chat Think, because we did get some stuff. So I wasn't trolling earlier. So the first one from Panic Apex: should all legends have the Skirmisher HB regen perk? No, I don't think so. But MG, what do you think?
No, I completely agree. No, I think that's like way too strong, especially if you give it to like a character that has fortification. Like, you basically are gonna have to kill like 400 HP worth of their health. It would not be a good idea.
Yeah. It sounds like a really rough day, like an LTM that I would just be going through it. Maybe if you guys want to test that out on April 1st, like, I'm down for an April Fool's Day vibe for that. But let's go ahead and kick on over to the next one. So yeah, God, I'm just thinking about it, because if you give it to the Assault Legends, just imagine a ballistic ult and you just never ends. No. Never ends. Ooh, this one's for Clutch. This one's for you, MG. Go for it.
How does it feel having the most aura in EMEA? Honestly, feels great. You know? People just kind of, like in PSQs, people kind of just ran away from us, so it kind of felt good. No one wanted to fight us, so it was actually really fun. And I just have like non-stop gifs of me on Discord spread everywhere. So no matter where I look, I always see myself. It's weird. I don't know.
Okay. So you're no longer MG, you're just basically Sung Jin Woo here. You're on your own solo leveling vibe, and you're just gonna, you're gonna keep on the up and up.
That's what people are trying to turn me into, I guess.
Hey, it's not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing to be turned into, but we do have one more opinion. So let's go ahead and see. Steep Cookie 2. I think that Aurora gamers play better than other teams, movement, aim, and etc. But they always have bad and dumb position. Okay, MG, thoughts on this one?
I actually think Aurora are like a really special team. Like, they have some of the best, like, they basically split up. If you watch champs, they all split up the entire tournament. There's one like 300 meters away grabbing all this Evo. And then when they actually get into zone, they actually get God spot every time. I think like their strength is in that. Like, they know once they get that third beacon, they're going to actually just pop off and win the game. I think they had like 3 wins in winners bracket and champs. Like, I think they're like a really smart team. It's just the way they play, people don't see it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm gonna like hit a ×2 on that for as well. But I mean, this is the last match day that we're seeing. So thank you so much for joining us here on the halftime show. But real quick before you go, what are you looking forward to most about the ALGS Open in New Orleans upcoming?
I really just want to see like what new. I've never been to America before, so I think it'd be really fun to experience. Plus, like, it'll be my first LAN too, so I think it'll be fun to actually play on stage and like have that like enjoying feeling, because it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity, you know, like not everyone gets the experience, so I'm going to enjoy every second of it.
It really does. Oh my gosh. We'll eat plenty of beignets, find all the good food, and stay out of the nightlife. Focus on the land for that once-in-a-lifetime experience. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see y'all soon. We're going to send Vicky on break as well as we look to move on over to Broken Moon, which means I am kidnapping you, Genome. We are going to do this together here as we move on to the back half of our series. You know, the one thing we the kidnap from Reignite during the Phoenix skin at the top of show Vicky was talking about, I was like, she's like, you know, with friends like these, I was like, I'm that friend. I'm that friend that does that, and I'm so sorry. And as we see our next legend that is getting banned, Catalyst. Are we surprised? Are we surprised, Gino? Because I'm not.
Not at all, really. And if we look at you know, some of the other regions and who's been banned there, actually, well, okay, so in APAC South, day 2, she was banned first. But if you look at APAC North, she wasn't banned at all. So yeah, I mean, I would say I'm not surprised because I think in EMEA and North America, she has been a lot more highly prioritized in those regions.
Ooh, you're not wrong. APAC North, actually, Catalyst never got banned in B versus C. But then again, neither did Newcastle. They're just doing different things over there. By this point in time, they had lost out on Crypto for game number 3, and then Ballistic was their next banned. But this is the first time that we're getting Broken Moon and E-District in one 6-game series, which I think is just so fun for year 5. And of course, we've got to check in with our team. That won game number 3, 27 points. That's a massive boon to a mid-series.
Oh, big game. And yeah, I agree. It is so fun with the new map. So fun, so fresh, so festive. It's Easter, or at least it is for you. It's Monday here, but you know, I'm already 3 chocolate bunnies deep.
You want to hand one over to me? Because I just had a tiramisu like cookie and it tasted like popcorn. So that's on me for being weird. Oh, okay. We're already kicking things off. We are just going to go, hey, maybe we can take this one out. He's literally 1 HP. You know they're screaming over here for Reply Totem.
Damn. Okay, yeah. And these two POIs always are in such close proximity to each other. You have to be worried about Spaceport if you are a Dry Gulch team. So Forbidden pulling out a Spaceport. If you want access to some of their beacons, the ring console in this instance, but most likely also the Evo Harvesters. And that's why they were at the sort of north side of Dry Gulch, because that's where the closest Evo Harvester is. So they need that to get blues.
Well, if you're just looking for the remaining 2, you grab the scan and then immediately see the poke on out. The Ash Dash tries to catch him, but we're finally taking him down. Sure, the trade comes in. We saw Slab go massive with all of the kills in game number 3, an easy wrap up, but we didn't really get to talk about what legends we were going to see just yet. But I love that with Catalyst being banned, you bring in Fuse, right? But you don't get access to the ring console until you get blue Evo shields, but taking that fight against them gets them to blue so we can go for a ring console and start playing for information.
Oh no, and Reply Totem, and they were trying to get away into core and hopefully, you know, grab the oh my god, what's it called, the replicator there, so that they can grab the banners and whatnot. But Annex Esports actually quite spread out and looting over there, so they send him right back home, and now Reply Totem has to go all the way up to Spaceport. They're basically swapping POIs with Forbidden. By the way, did you just slip like the best Pokemon pun I've ever heard in there, Tiff?
Maybe.
That was incredible. Just want to point that out.
Is it bad that I have no idea what I even did? But Aurora got some kills. They took it.
When you said Ash, are they gonna catch them?
Oh, look, you're making me sound smarter than I really am.
Oh my god, I was like, surely that has to be deliberate. Like,
yeah, it was. And look at this ring, also deliberate here for Aurora to walk in right at the top of zone where it intersects. So we've been asking for Aurora to step it up. Typically the second half of a series that I've witnessed, at least for them here in year 5 split 1, has been stronger. And after MG kind of hyping them up, saying they're a special team, we know that, like, just the way that they have had one of the most intricate play styles, that it's just like, it's gotta work eventually, right? Eventually.
You'd hope so. You'd hope so. But as you can see, we've got Forbidden kill farming Reply Totem over here in Spaceport. They've somehow cottoned onto the fact that the respawn was in earnest, and as soon as they come down from the dropship, it will just be extra KP going into the back pocket of Forbidden.
Ooh, I mean, they weren't gonna let that one go. You know, if you let Andy Jax try to hit a full reset, you see a neighboring POI, the dropship comes on and you're like, I'm just gonna push on out to that. Now, are they alone up here in Spaceport as they kind of decide to go over towards the east just a bit, or were teams gonna be looking to find more information and potential isolated fights? You can see FaZe here, Cinetic on your screen, maybe wanting to take an isolated 3v3.
Yeah, some potential for that fight to happen, but we're going to be switching over to one that is happening right now. And as we go over to Stasis Array, where the zone is pulling, you're seeing Ninjas in Pyjamas really struggling. And even though Sir Del had the interception pylon down, you can see that zapping away a lot of the Fuse ult. They're still in so much trouble.
So good seeing Serdell back onto the Watson, but Max here on Valk. Vicky should be happy. A dance around the boxes, and Ninjas in Pyjamas will fall in 18th place, with UAIM picking up some well-needed KP as they're still trying to get up into maybe the upper top 10 here for B versus C. Oh, but Max, here comes the third party. Team Nemesis, the Noise is making the call. Sure, the crypto EMP is gonna be a little difficult and try to hold them back, but it's only just a couple second delay on that push.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the Rampart. MG Clutch was saying he's not a huge fan of it, but that makes sense because they were, you know, they're playing Edge and it's a very different play style for Team Nemesis, who've managed to get in here nice and quickly. All of a sudden the Rampart starts to look good. The only thing I'll say is that teams have cottoned on to the fact that without the walls, she's, you know, she loses a lot of her power, right? And it feels like every team is instantly shooting down the glass part of the walls now when they see Rampart. It's just like, it's a reaction. And as a result, you know, she doesn't have as much defensive power as she used to.
It's true. Honestly, it's the first thing you need to do anytime you see those. Those walls take, what, like 5 to 8 seconds to go up? So if you can take that amped cover portion of it and deny them getting that damage boost, brilliant. I did see another caustic. So some teams are looking to bring that back in for the Controller Legend, especially if you're going to be holding buildings on Broken Moon. But as we still kind of play through the solar array area, some teams still up in Alpha Base, FaZe Clan, who are going for that massive rotation up towards Dry Gulch and Spaceport, have found themselves in the core, still looking, hunting for some edge fights.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they were, you know, they've been seen dancing around Forbidden a little bit, and they're actually getting some 30-30 shots onto them from distance. But as the ring starts to shrink now, you can see FaZe Clan are on the ring console as it happens, and we'll have one of the first looks at where the zone pulls in this next section of the game.
Okay, well, if you've already got one down from the Gaimin Gladiators team, it's kind of unfortunate. Vicky was highlighting the fact that they've been struggling getting into the late game, but can grab kills early on. And with Alliance having a rather slow start on E-District, have to amp things up if they want to make it to the top of the leaderboard. Mind you, they got a 3rd overall in their first match day showing in Split 1. So sitting in 12th is the opposite effect of what they want. So Ballistic ult in hand, looking for the rest of GG.
Ooh, okay, yeah, GG. Taking some losses, having to pull all the way out into the divide to look for a potential reset here. You can't even see they've gone off the map, off reservation to try and get back into game 4 here. So Alliance playing from Eternal Gardens. It looks like they'll be able to go up to that sort of the big open platform with the bins that F9 are sitting on the building just outside of that. I don't mind that spot from Alliance. I think they'll be able to push in from there fairly easily. It just depends how far into Stasis Array this zone closes, or if it does actually swing a little more east towards Eternal Gardens.
That will be interesting. And I'm kind of basing my calls off of where Pengu Power goes. They have that ring console that they're holding down onto Cliffside, and they've been really accurate on which fights they need to take later into ring 3 and 4 to put themselves into God spot. So they've made a lot of solid calls on E-District, but I'm curious if Broken Moon will remain the same, because WEH and 10K also had a lot of the same. And WEH is holding kind of the southern side over by Hazmat Tunnel, and 10K is up just ahead with the Rampart walls all situated.
Yeah, you can see GG throwing out the drone to minimize some ring damage and get the respawns there. Ring 2 is closing at the moment, so you really want to be staying as close to that as you can to try and minimize the amount of meds you're going to need. The ring is quite far away, having to push all the way through Terraformer to get back. But Alliance look like they might be taking another fight against VC Go right now.
Look, if you're feeling more comfortable on Broken Moon, get the fights out of the way. Take them all. Like, you can make this right in this 1 to 2 games on the back half of this series. We saw a 27-point game, which would do massive numbers and put them, look, I'm not going to do math, but close to 40, which I think is brilliant. So Effect here using that ballistic ult to speed on up towards Solar Array, and from a distance with the G7 Scout. Can we pick a couple off? It would be nice.
Yeah, interesting. So they don't stick on that that platform. They decide to take this cliff, which overlooks a lot of Stasis Array. And yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, right? They'll just have to worry about their back with teams like Annex Esports, who could do potentially like a zone wrap or maybe an evac over the top. I'm not sure what's even possible around that mountain range, but it does look like they've got people watching their back. So Alliance should be okay for any Alliance enjoyers out there.
Stasis enjoyers, that's right. I don't know what I was thinking calling it solar. Maybe that's where I'm just going for. But Aurora, that has moved up on the fence line. Look, that's one of my nice positions that I think is gonna be really interesting for them. The question is, can they hold out their backside on this? Because people can easily pop down, and the next thing you know, you're fighting way too many teams. So 9 Impulse here, back on the Mirage, locking it in, popping over the fence, and the GeoGuessr goat gonna fall at the hands of him, and we're just gonna try and finish this out. But we do lose 9 Impulse in the process. Kazakh and Oirain link up together. Can we get the friend back?
Nice. Sadly, it's not the Mirage rezzing and getting that sort of invis buff when that happens. But oh my, the ultimate's coming out now. Seeing EMPs, Rolling Thunders, lots of ultimates and utility pop to try and take space here. And as you were saying, these teams are really pressing hard up against these fences, and that's because hard cover is just worth its weight in gold right now. As you said, no Newcastle, no Catalyst. There's not a lot of options for these teams apart from something like Rampart or perhaps Lifeline, as MG Clutch was saying, is maybe undervalued when you want to play for space.
Ooh. Nothing like being tethered. But a moment of reprieve. I mean, you have Team Nemesis on the inside, which makes sense. They're playing Rampart. They can use the amped covers to cover the walls, especially the doors if they're being broken. But Annex still being held out. Not a good position to find yourself in this late into the game. You're chaining your heels.
They do actually go for that zone wrap, right, that we were talking about. But as you say, you know, yeah, they need to be decisive with it. They need maybe, I mean, they've got 2 Ash portals. Maybe they can use one to get close to Alliance and then one to get even further. But Alliance are watching it, and they have called that it's coming in.
Okay, WEH just continuing to rack up points on the board. Started off with a massive game in game number 1, but here we go. Annex finally trying to push on in, and Alliance holding it out. The smart bullet to really hone on in, because they're going to have to walk right through that unless they kind of isolate through. But when you've got the Watson fence on the left, you're just like, welcome to my traps.
Yeah, I mean, the EMP came in from Annex there, so they removed a lot of the Watson utility that Alliance had set up. I mean, it even feels weird to see Alliance on the Watson, to be honest. It doesn't feel a very them pick, but you have to be creative and versatile in this meta and era of Legend bans.
Okay, well, Ballistic Effect opening up with a lot of that initial damage. Unlucky gets traded on out, but Hackis has to finish things off while the teammates are resetting and healing. FaZe Clan and Annex both will fall, and it's Pengu Power, who we're consistently looking at on that western side of things, have done what they can to take out FaZe and isolate themselves. But just like Alliance had thought, they were finding a power position. Well, VC goes ready to take it straight from them.
Oh, a couple of armor swaps come in. Oh my god, the damage coming back the way of VC Go is impressive for Alliance. I thought they were done for sure, and yes, even with those replies, they don't manage to weather the storm of VC Go just porting straight at them.
Ooh, job's not done for the mid game. It's the Pioneers here looking to stuff themselves straight into this building, but you have to go through those fences that Alliance was trying to put on up, but at this time it's F9, and it's making this journey through the building so difficult. Then you wrap into a portal, and they are completely gone, but you know what? You've got a building on the outside of zone, and you've still got a way to go.
Yep, KCP looking over F9, and yeah, the zone's pulled very much towards Stasis Array, right? Like, it's going to be in between the sort of spaceship landing platform and the main building of Stasis Array. Somewhere in there is where the zone will be ending up. So I think actually the buildings to the south of Stasis are probably the more impressive ones, the more you know, solid ones to be holding. And we've got teams like Infinite here going up against WEH. And yeah, this is important fights and important positions to be looking after.
F9 fall off screen, and WEH trying to take down Infinite, your match day 1 winners. It's wild to see just how much of a leveling up that WEH has done as they claim this building that you proclaimed was going to be incredibly important, because it is inside that next circle until we find out where does it go from here. VC Go finally, KCP here on the other side. They made that movement from taking it over, and now trades on either Falcons here. Can we hold on? VC Go does fall though, but I don't think we're going to be able to regain. We're soloing it out potentially for the rest of the match.
Forbidden second in the lobby overall, and they're looking to wrap around the north side of Stasis. They've got it actually pretty much to themselves right now, so if they can hold this fence line out, I like the you know, the composition here with Ash and Fuse. You put one of those on either side while 0-0 is just coming in the drone, where they have to worry and look at these other teams. So if they can shove 10k away from them and also potentially scare Aurora a little bit and make some space for themselves as they push towards the eastern side of this zone, you know, Forbidden could be in a good spot.
I love that you say if they could scare Aurora. Meanwhile, Aurora is literally hunting down BPR.
It's the boogeyman.
They are chasing them down and clearing out the western side of things, but more crypto EMPs coming our way as Forbidden is going to have to get over to the western side of things. But with Ash still being in play and having the ultimate there, I can see the Motherlode trying to get prepped for an end game position. But Pengu Power and WEH had to nuke it out there on that southern side of things. But look at the high ground here. Like, we just have to point the P2020s down, and Pengu Power is done and dusted. Importance of high ground 101.
Man, and I feel like P20s are so strong from height as well, because with other guns you kind of have to adjust the recoil and whatnot, but like P20s you don't really, so you just lock your reticle on them from above, and then it's GG.
And they walk into a solid position, but it's Forbidden and Aurora on the northern side of things. This has to be decided upon. Either Forbidden fights this, or they decide to kind of rotate over towards the east. Either way it goes, you're potentially sandwiching another team. We do still have that one lone member of Pioneers as we move on in towards that main building. Aurora, after pushing out BPR and moving Forbidden, likely will seek to third party this.
Yeah, interesting. So Forbidden, they don't want to, yeah, sort of have to worry about Aurora and the position that they're in right now. They're actually switching their attention to some of the teams inside, like Team Nemesis, who will probably have some space to play inside that building in the next zone. So they don't necessarily have to leave yet. It'll just be a little bit iffy.
Oh, well, there goes the solo from Pioneers. Out in 6th place, our top 5 teams here. Now, no real fight has broken out, but we did see the free cam just a moment ago. There was a member of WEH that was still scouting for any push from Aurora of moving south on the western side, as opposed to like kind of circling around where Forbidden has gone. But it does seem that WEH has set their sights straight onto Aurora. A Motherlode is down, trying to circle them and find that advantage, especially if you can pop on up around this staircase and take a bit of high ground from them. But if you don't get that initial damage or that knock you're looking for, we kind of just end up prolonging this too long.
Yeah, exactly, and you can't have that happen because that opens up opportunities for third parties for the other teams. But no, Aurora do find their opportunity, and they do manage to take down 2 of WEH, and as soon as they try and get out, they'll meet 10k to finish them off.
It's a ballistic ult retaliation, if I do say so myself. Sure, you go under fire with a third party, as Forbidden has actually jumped straight onto Aurora. So great. You net a couple of KP, you will lose your placement points. You're out inside that top 5, and now 10K, who have been lying in wait, have wrapped around seeing if they can deny a reset from Forbidden. But Team Nemesis has to leave the shelter of Stasis at some point.
Yeah, the aggression coming out of 10K and Forbidden, though, have pushed them into a corner, and Team Nemesis seizing that opportunity, push out of the main building in Stasis, and now have the majority of the zone to themselves, sitting center zone with only 10K left to go. Let's see which one of these two teams takes it out.
Two wildly different legend compositions, both playing Rampart though, and Zuni with the ballistic ult, the Rampage and the Sling. It's all revved up and ready to fire with trades on either side and minimal health. Can we close the distance, finish below? Remix Powers and Zuni trying to find Kaishi, and we do. Team Nemesis will take the first map of the day on Broken Moon.
Whoa, good effort there from Team Nemesis, who with that pushed themselves into second spot, actually, up with 47 points. So yeah, incredible work from Team Nemesis. That was an interesting game from start to finish from them.
Completely. And it's actually interesting that this comes right after our halftime, where Vicky gives her hot take about saying Ballistic is busted and Valkyrie's great. So now that they're running Valk Ballistic Rampart, they hit a win here on Broken Moon. They grab 19 total points, which is brilliant. Forbidden, though, they prioritize a lot of fighting towards that end game and kind of hopping on well-timed third parties. Grab 10 KP.
Very nice. Yeah, I mean, obviously there was some fighting they had to do to take control of the main building, but then picking and choosing the timing, we saw Aurora sort of fail that check, as well as the other teams that were outside, but Nemesis thread the needle and come out with the dub, as well as 7 KP.
Yeah, as I'm kind of like correlating where this is, we pull up some stats. Team Nemesis started in Internal Gardens, 10K in Stasis, Forbidden over there in Spaceport. So all on the northern side of things, where it ends on the north in Broken Moon. So Noise is grabbing, 3 kills, sharing that with Remix. But overall, nothing too crazy on the outlier segments, but we did see Forbidden have a really big game in game number 3, and it was Slab that kind of controlled a lot of those kills, and he put up 2K damage, so not bad at all.
Yep, big numbers there. And as we switch across to the series results, you can see that Team WEH still up ahead, but now the margin has slimmed. It's gone on a diet. We've only got 1 point ahead of Team Nemesis after their dub, and only 1 more point between them and Forbidden. So the top end of this looking very tight, very exciting.
Oh, I'm so excited. This is going to make the last 2 games of our match day number 3 insane. But before we get there, we are going to jump to a quick break. So we'll have Vicky and Genome casting on the other side.
As the mortals chant my name, I shall descend upon this world and bestow upon it my body. What offerings do you bring, thy beautiful vestige? I demand they be sharp and explosionized. You are making quite the scene for me not to be in it. What the hell? This fighting pleases me. More! More! And now one last gift for my believers. The ultimate decoy. Cheeky.
Welcome back, everyone, to EMEA B versus C. It's looking great here as we take a look at our teams that have been shaping up the total series. Very tight here, too, Genome, as we close in the gap for a lot of the squads that popped off earlier on E-District.
Yeah, absolutely. Only 2 points between first and third. It is very tight there up at the top. And here's one of those teams that is looking to take out a victory today. Picking up quite a few kills as well as placement points. It's been honestly pretty balanced for these guys over at WEH. Forbidden, by contrast, have had some massive games. They started off with barely any in game 1 and 2, and then had a win with 15 kills and a third place with 10 kills.
It's just been a ramp up here to see our squads really popping off now as we make that transition into Broken Moon too. We talked about it earlier, the Ballistic. We saw the Valk Team Nemesis though, being able to wrap up around this fence line. You and Tiff took it away here with our final 2 squads before Team Nemesis was able to get the Evil Shield swap and then the finishing blow on that final team.
Yep. Nice little stasis array finish. I'm not sure I've seen one of those in Pro League before, and that's one of the fun things about having new maps, right? Is like we're getting these exciting new finishes that the audience probably hasn't seen before, unless they're, you know, maybe a diehard scrims watcher, where you've obviously, you know, you would have played these in probably your ranked games, but you know, your ranked games don't look like ALGS. It's kind of 2 very different systems of playing Apex, frankly. So always cool to see how it shakes out when you've got the best players in the world turning their minds to you know, the strategies that you need to be playing when you've got 10 teams pulled into one POI and really all fighting over Godspot.
And you're absolutely right, by the way, Genome. There hasn't been a circle thus far in ALGS on Broken Moon over by Stasis. We've actually seen one over by the south side of Alpha Base, but nowhere near by Stasis. We haven't seen one in Internal Garnerins, Breaker Wharf. So it's been nice to see, at least now starting things off on Broken Moon, a bit of diversity as we dive into game number 5. And we see that Crypto has broken the tiebreaker versus Ash on pick rate to be the next legend banned before diving into game number 5.
Yeah, so if you've got multiple legends that have been played equally as much in one game, because obviously we're banning it from, you know, one game to the next, you start going down from the top of the list who placed higher in the previous game, and the first team to only use one of those legends, that's the legend that will get banned. So in this case, it was a team that had used Crypto and not, sorry, what was the other legend that was
Ash
that was on the table?
I believe it was Ash.
Ash, yeah. So the higher placing team would have used Crypto and not Ash, and therefore Crypto gets banned out first.
That's huge here. Seeing now that Crypto has left from the lobby, gotta check up on Kachira. Now I know they're gonna be doing great. A team though that does need to really start kicking things off though. I'm thinking about FaZe really needing to start turning things around. Currently sitting in 20th overall in the series. For diving into this 5th game. Teams though like Team Nemesis really turning things around. We highlighted how close the overall standings of the top part of the leaderboards are looking, with WEH being at 48, Team Nemesis with 47, and Forbidden with 46. And that's where you kind of see the gap between Forbidden and 10K. We take a look at Team Nemesis looting their POI before they start rotating over here by Broken Moon.
Yeah, that's kind of nuts, huh? Just thinking about FaZe's performance over the last 2 weeks when, especially coming into the season, I think, Vicky, coming into this year, coming into this split, we really had high hopes for them. Synetic has been amazing in the past. He's been a really special player, and he's got a solid team around him. So it really feels like they have all the pieces they should need to succeed. Is it, you know, what is the reason behind them failing to perform here? Is it the legend bans? You know, I don't know, coaching strategy. I'm not sure what their background is there, but we'll have to keep an eye and see if they can perhaps swing it back in these last 2 games.
And when you have really 2 good controller players and only 2 kills today, there's definitely something here that needs to be looked at. Maybe their momentum being halted over by E District, now making their way into Broken Moon, not really breaking that curse. Now taking a look though at where our zone's going to be taking us here in Broken Moon. I just want to highlight, this is the first time I'm able to cast Broken Moon for like professional ALGS. So I'm genuinely have been so excited to really dive into this, because now looking at where the final zones have been pulling before in the past, I believe we have seen a final zone already over by Terraformer and another one by Bionomics. And now looking at the zone, we could probably predict that it could pull towards the same similar outskirts Terraformer zone.
Yep.
And NIP will have that zone advantage and a ring console to work off.
Yeah, I'd be extremely surprised if this went past the mountains to somewhere like the Divide. We have been seeing a lot of Terraformer zones. Almost, maybe not to the extent, but a little bit similar to Energy Bank, right? Where it's a central sort of POI, and there's just a lot of big mountains around it, which, as we said, kind of bounces the zone inwards.
Ready the action though, starting off quick here for Gaimin Gladiators. And the teams with the Fuse and Ballistic and Bangalore trying to take shots at the squad flying right overhead them. NIP already going to be able to try to play off the corners, north side of Bionomics, while Gaimin Gladiators are going to let them fly by. There is a survey beacon and a ring console there. VC Go, though, in the neighboring building next to Gaimin Gladiators, and right behind VC Go, as you can see, is going to be Team Nemesis.
Okay, so a couple of teams, especially Team Nemesis here. As we said, 1 point, a single kill will start jockeying them between one spot and another and overtaking those other teams ahead of them on the leaderboard. It wouldn't be the first time that we've had a Pro League decided by 1 point or less.
Let's check that quadrant. We should cruise over there.
Highlights the skill and how some teams are closing in the skill gap that we could see in these lobbies. Team Nemesis being one of the squads rocking that Valkyrie too, while they hang out over here. They're looking at the teams VC Go and Gaimin Gladiators really take things off. NX Esports are going to be able to follow up and take out 9 Impulse. Aurora still live. They're going to be able to try to reset if possible. You can see the pings. They know that they're going to be playing off on the outskirts here. Aurora had called in that evac tower trying to get away from an X. While FaZe engaging on this fight, we were just highlighting how this team, we know they have the capability, but haven't really been able to get that KP that they need.
Yeah, okay, so FaZe, as we can see, only a couple of points to their name. Zane trying to dash around the Fuse ult there, and he does it successfully. They'll take out Pengu Power, and there we go. That's a boost to their confidence, sorely needed.
Huge here for FaZe. This is what we were expecting now. Get to start kicking things up here on Broken Moon, and that's how you started off, by getting some KP. Still, VC Go have not moved from this building, still looking at the team right below them. It's NIP this time, who have now wrapped around after we saw them fly over Gaimin Gladiators. Now on the other side of VC Go, having to be careful. This could also set them up to get 3-peat if they're not careful with Team Nemesis, who we know were on the outskirts.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a weird spot to have to set up, like having a pylon here and putting up fences. It's not generally a spot that you would see as defensible. So it's got me wondering, though, a NIP playing for that sort of strategy where even if you expect the zone to pull on Terraformer's side, you can still hug the wall for as long as possible and then potentially put an evac on the top of this building that we see here. In some spots in Broken Moon, I don't know if this is one of them, the evac on top of those types of buildings will get you over the cliff and you can make it across to the other side. So potentially if they fight for supremacy in that spot, it'll be a very late evac rotation into zone.
That's an amazing point, Genome. Yes, you're absolutely, especially on that building too, right? Unless there's been some sort of patch, but yes, you absolutely can off of that building with an evac or a Valkyrie ult. You see KCP though inside of this building. Terraformer already getting so many other squads to start sharing some of this space. Reply Totem on the other side, hugging that ring console. While KCP are looking at the team that may be playing right underneath them. Believe that could be Infinite that's still inside their building. Yeah, it is. They're going to be on the other side, still rocking full blues.
Yeah, they're just coexisting for the moment. No mad Maggies in this region by the looks of it to start drilling them through the walls and potentially get some openings that way. I guess the other things we should have mentioned there is that when we were looking at Forbidden previously, they've switched on to Seer. So we've got a Seer in the lobby now. We have been seeing just a scant amount of that legend making its way into the latter half of series now with the legend bands.
Again, shows you the diversity of these legend compositions and what really plays into the player's strength on how they feel comfortable to try to play these zones.
Yeah, even map by map as well, right? Like we've got, you know, very little Wraith here, but a lot of Bangalore. So teams obviously preferring to have, you know, smoke rotations rather than portal rotations on Broken Moon as opposed to E-District.
Allows them to be able to take advantage of that server beacon scan here too. Nice shots here with the EVA 8 into immediately utilizing the Ashe ult. Trying to take out to the high ground, trying to cut them off. Nice placement on the stair. Look how that slowdown on the Ashe has affected their ability to get away. SJP2 out for blood to take out Lifin.
Denze pops in there with the dash and finishes off the last member of Annex Esports. And you can see, you know, running Nemesis EVA 8, no need to be playing a... Actually, no, I say that. No need to be playing an accelerator weapon. Well, not to charge up your Evo, but one of the reasons a lot of teams aren't running that loadout, Vicky, is because the extra utility it gives you in charging up your ultimate is just so impactful in end zones where you want to use an ultimate and then quickly get another one up and running.
And the Evo right there too. Like, it's just crazy to be able to see the accelerator really impact how some of these players are going to be able to get that Evo Shield charge here. Going to be able to get that ulti ready to go to close in that gap here as we could get to see where our teams are positioned right now on the outskirts. Gaimin Gladiators and VC Go, like you mentioned, Genome, I don't see them moving anywhere because they are going to try to utilize either the evac tower or if another team moves up, the Valkyrie ult to get around the other side of the mountain. But just waiting out this side here to look at the teams like Alliance, who will be uncontested by this choke unless Nemesis decide to fully commit on that rotate. They still have enough time to rotate on the outskirts of Atmos Station, so we'll see where they're going to be going into. While we take a look at FaZe, full purples, let's jump into a listening with FaZe while they plan their next rotate.
It is free. I can just TP us right now.
Yeah.
Tipping us. Come. I'm gonna dash in, okay, and fight.
I don't see him on top.
It's free.
I don't see him on top. Get top.
Top is also... Team on top, I think. Team on top. With it. Team on top with it.
Oh, I hear it.
I'll pick him.
Just short. Watch your LOS. Watch your LOS.
Oh, I'm one.
They've zeroed. I'm crouching.
They've ulted.
I'm Phoenixing. I need a Phoenix outside.
Take my side.
They might...
One above my door or some shit.
Yeah, I'm just chilling on my door.
Yeah, I'm just chilling.
Outside, inside, by the way. Play inside, guys.
Outside right, looking.
Come and play.
Okay, I'm playing inside.
Play together,
doors. It's bad.
It is on top. Wait, I might be able to kill one.
Okay.
No, wait, no, he dropped down. He was on
They're gonna get shot at by all these new teams.
One's far right, yeah, one is far right.
Just wait for Cyril to go out. Okay, it's gone.
Can we peek top left maybe? Or top right?
It's Ashe, Seer, and...
We should try and fuck them right now.
Ashe, Seer, Fuse. Yeah, I'm gonna jump this...
I love the comms that we're hearing. Synetic is still able to stay alive. He was burned, though, by the team that was up on high, but you could hear the comms recognizing the Seer and Fuse team right across from them.
Okay, it looks like the fight will start in earnest now, and Synetic, unfortunately, is going to drop first. His teammates move close to him to see if they can potentially create an opportunity where the res is possible. And Zane, the pickup from Ninjas in Pyjamas, has a lot resting on his head, honestly, as known as a very mechanically gifted player. He obviously hasn't been able to have the impact on FaZe so far that he would have liked.
We'll be able to get the reset at the very least here and the res. You can see the pings. They weren't able to clean up that last straggler trying to get away now from out of their line of sight. Looking at the fighting that has not stopped, though. While FaZe reset from their fight originally with Forbidden, now we get to take a look at WEH. They lose out on Fito, though. Fuse in the backside. See if they can take advantage of the circle closing in right behind them. It's just round 2, but on the other side, Excuse can take advantage of this positioning here. But with plus the fact that there is still 2 other members from BPR, it's going to be way too hard, and they get eliminated. Alliance, though, effect getting swag, cleaning up even more KP.
Obviously, we know what these guys are capable of. Consensus best team in the world in ALGS Year 4. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen again this year. Everything's different this year, and they have to be able to make those changes as they come in off the back here to try and take down BPR. FaZe Clan get involved as well, and kind of seems like it's been rough for Alliance today in some senses. You know, every time they are looking to fight teams, there's always a third party ready. They can't seem to find those isolated fights that allow them to chain kills and points together.
That and the circle pulls too, right? Like, they've had 22 points and 18 of it being KP. They're trying to take these fights smart, but while also keeping in mind where that zone pool is going to be. So it's tough here, while FaZe now looking to fully extend on BPR inside this building. No Watson fence to stop them here. No crypto needed, obviously, being banned from the lobby. Nice nade toss, though. Gonna be able to get that, knock it into distance. The Lions are waiting. They repositioned to put themselves in the best spot to 3P this fight that they saw coming, but they lose out on effect, and they get that nice trade from the distance with the Nemesis.
Oh, Hackers! He gets a little bit greedy trying to go for the fall there and gets knocked as a result. Now unlucky trying to get both of his teammates back into the fight, but more teams have turned up. There's almost no chance. Yet another low finish for Alliance.
Alliance getting eliminated. Forbidden coming back. Aurora making their face show up against BPR again before backing away after not liking the situation. Forbidden now resetting. Ring 3 closing, but they're on the edge of this next zone. Still taking a look, though, at Aurora to make sure that they're not going to be able to re-wrap around to try to contest Forbidden while they try to isolate their fight versus BPR.
You know, at some points, I think people would have said Slab was almost like the heir apparent in the EMEA region as a character who sort of, you know, wasn't around in the earlier stages of ALGS, but then, you know, had so much potential. And it seems like potentially we could be seeing that realized here today in this particular group matchup.
What's insane is this circle pull. We take a look at Forbidden trying to engage here originally with the Art Star. Slab slides in here alongside Aku to get that knock here. Nemesis in your feet, get eliminated. Still another left for BPR. He manages to get away while Forbidden take over this building. They get pinged from afar. That's UAIM who are looking at them with the 30-30, it seems. But this zone pull is insane. Pulling completely over to the east side. And by 10K, who have been uncontested, F9 are trying to take that building away from them if they can. 10K set up, though, with the rampart walls is huge here for them to play off that high ground and look at all the teams that will be funneled in their direction.
Yeah, it's insane when you are a Rampart team. If you do correctly guess the zone, rotate early enough, and find a strong position like this, yeah, that's just the ideal scenario. And if you're trying to make rotations with her, not so great. So 10K, this is the game that they need to convert on. They're sitting in 4th place already, so it's been a solid day for them. This could be the one that puts them in contention.
10K lands in stasis too, so gonna be able to make that rotate from that east side of the map. Infinite, all I hear are the PP singing in my ear. The P20s really making the statement. Infinite now over on this low ground, still looking at KCP up right on top of them. And they're not the only ones, right? Team Nemesis on the outskirts here too. We know that UAIM were trying to hold back Forbidden on the edge of zone. And Gaimin Gladiators will slowly make an appearance here while you hear the P2020 sing in the middle.
Zone's closing on them, though, so GG do have to make a move closer to a team like Aurora, who's currently within the zone, but currently with only 1 out of their 3 team members. Make that none.
Now you see him, now you don't. Eliminated from this lobby. Sliding down, UAIM also trying to fight for their lives. FG up on the high ground here. Even Gladiators have been able to move up closer into the zone. Nice crack here. Aku with that mother load originally. NIP get eliminated. Trying to hold them back. It's GG trying to force their way up, but they are at an Evil Shield disadvantage. Full blues versus the full purples that we're currently seeing from Forbidden. Nice. UAIM get eliminated. I'd rather actually gold Evo here for 0-0.
Nice for them. Moving up to the platform here on top of Terraformer. We've got SJP finishing off a couple of kills. That's Pioneers going down. Nemesis will pull up on top of them. GG versus Forbidden. You gotta remember, last time Sia was in the meta, Accelerator weapons were not a thing. So just think about the potential uptime you have on the exhibit, on the Seer ult, with the changes we've had in the game now.
And imagine that, matching that together with the Motherload potentially. GG, they'll take a different angle. Huge protest here. Gaimin Gladiators, with Lefka being on that fuse, put in so much pressure in that corner. Gaimin Gladiators completely reversing the situation, and now have been able to take care of 2 from FG.
Oh, it's big ups from GG. You've got quite a few kills so far in this game. And it looks like, yeah, Forbidden completely eliminated. They just took an Ashport into zone and got caught off. I think it was, it might have been Kaisha with the bow here who actually did manage to secure that kill. And this is 10K just posting up. I mean, as if the bow doesn't do enough damage already, Vicky. You've got it. It's behind the amp cover right now.
Right? Oh, let it sing. You look at the ping. He wants it. They're not gonna move here.
Damage so far.
Yeah, right. The bow check, especially behind the amp barrier, just so scary. It makes you cry a little bit. While Gaimin Gladiators trying to find an angle here. I slide by.
Got to make sure you take down those rampart walls as soon as you can. You can see Remix Power is falling off here as Light tries to take this position away from them. Lotscar's got way too much to do. And GG, after a solid game, will go down in 5th.
And good luck with an R9 versus 2 double P2020 staring you in the face. It's going to be a lot to deal with here. They try to reset, but Reply Totem waiting for them. Andy Giants gets taken out first, and Catch just trying to help them allow the circle to put in the pressure right behind Nemesis' back. And they clean them up, now get the loot that they need, and they're going to be able to get the reset on the res. Oh, before the slide in though, F9 as a solo, trying to see if they can have the opportunity here. 2 Babylons that come in, they take them out, and 10K win for free while everyone's just fighting in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at that position that 10K had and said, I mean, this is ridiculous, especially with the Rampart on their side. And yeah, it's not even a contest. The other teams are all crippled and you know, just walking around on one leg by the time that 10K even gets into the fight. Freest win you will see today.
Yeah, well, we take a look at the match results, right? Because they were in that position for quite some time, Gino, but with the bow check and Kashira's hands being on the Ash 2, they still were able to pepper in a good amount of pressure and damage. They got 8 KP on top of the dub, with Reply Totem getting 2nd place with 5 KP. We saw F9 try to make some magic happen, trying to go in for the 3P as a solo. Couldn't get the KP, but at least was able to get the top 3 finish.
It's weird. That's the 2nd team we've seen so far today who's gone heavy on placement points without grabbing any kills. But, oh, interesting. A good spread across our top performers here. As you can see, Noises pitching in with the assists. Kashira grabbing 4 kills. That's actually, it's a little bit low for an Apex Predator stat. That's the same as the Warlord, only getting 1,500 damage. So, yeah, that means it's obviously been spread out across our contestants here.
And taking a look at the series results too. Talk about the damage. Now let's take a look at where our teams are standing, and it's still so incredibly tight with Team Nemesis now taking that 1st place spot with 59 total. Forbidden right behind him with 55. We were talking about WEH for so long, but still very possible. One pop-off game having 48 points with 10K after that dub, setting themselves up for the top 3 with 52 points.
Nice, but yeah, it's still tight up the top there. WEH falling behind a little bit now, sub 50, after they weren't able to hang on. But this last game, it's going to be an exciting one with that many teams close together, Vicky.
I feel like time is just flying by. I cannot believe it, but we have one more game to go here on Broken Moon. Don't go anywhere. It'll come to you on the other side of this break.
ライカー車線を広げました。アークスネアにグレネード、最後はボテックワンヒットきっかけを作りました。一気にノイジーが降りてきた。リジェクト耐えられるか。キャッスボールの後ろを昌平敬吾なんとか起こしきれたんですが返している。ただライカー HP 状況1人持ってきた。ユリース戻して最後の1人ノイジーユリースリアライズに対して仕掛けていきます。リアライズがここで全滅です。残りは3部隊。 なんか見えてる。ワンマガジン持っていった。なんか見えてた。さあこれで2部隊フナティックとの一騎打ち。先にワンダを取っているのはリジェクト。1試合目の悔しさをぶつけました。次は3部隊です。フナティックリジェクトは確認できています。あ、ポータル消えた。迷うか。あっと迷った。かなり苦しい体力までただ削られた。キャラクターコントロール粘るんですが、さあどうか。ノイジー帰ってきている。ただここでフナティック落とされた。最後ノイジーまさか一方的に打ち下ろすことができます。テロバリケード分断できていますが、上から打ち下ろすのみの GHS。 下の TIE リアライズは取ったが、シズが耐えてる。これ2位いけるぞ。下のファイト無視して上に帰ってきた。なんとリアライズ2位まで伸ばしました。しかし GHS はもうあとくる。ローリックサンダーそっち行く。なんなら LTI の方向にそっち行った。飛び込んだ。しかしここでジョナが落とされます。綿毛は入れるが、これでストライダーズが動きやすくなりました。展開しています。これ LFT アーミーが全滅です。ただストライダーズも1人倒されている。残ってるのはマッティとチャナムですが、そのまま取り切った。高い位置取ってワンチャンこの狙えるか。お互いにミークワンは苦しい悔しい結果になりました。19位と20位。いやその位置めちゃくちゃいいアイビス。上を取る判断です。キャッスルウォール挟み込んだ。前線を張るのはアイビス。ただシーズとインキャが倒されている。どうだ 1v1 体力状況は有利。しかし返しましたミーティア。
With all the action shaping up here, we got one more game to go while we dive into Broken Moon. Game number 6, and we say goodbye to another legend, Genome.
Yeah, we do have another one leaving us behind. But first, let's have a quick look at that final circle here. I mean, yeah, we're just going to be getting a lot of vision of the other teams who are messing around and basically just playing for second place, while 10K shot at them from afar, picked up, I think it was something like 8 kills in the process, and then just waltzed in, you know, sipping tea basically, and just having a nice little chat while they mopped up the last kills, because it was insane how easy this one was for them to take out the dub.
Yeah, it was just them walking up maybe a little too late, so that way they could try to steal at least some KP from that solo from F9. Maybe Lone's just trying their best here, but unfortunately not going to be able to get that KP before they were able to slide in, get that last kill, and 10K being your Game 5 winners, but in the best place that they could be sitting in, so that way they could be in that game-winning position.
Yeah. Yeah, there was just a great zone read from Kishira there. Obviously, you know, one of the most experienced IGLs in the entire world, and he's proved it with that one, because the best thing you can do as an IGL really is just put your team in a position where they can't lose.
Yeah, and it's crazy to be able to see the flip side of things of this lobby, right? We keep highlighting Alliance, how they keep finding themselves in these difficult situations where they're getting this KP, but the placement points where these circle pulls have been pulling have not allowed them to benefit. FaZe now waking up a little bit, going to be able to get some KP themselves, but still taking a little too long now that, again, we're just on the last game here. We've been able to figure out which of these teams have been able to adjust to the legend bans, to the different map pools that we've had here going in from E District to Broken Moon. You still have a lot of that open ground, but less buildings for cover, less space to coexist with. Aside, of course, that last zone, we do have a lot of space for that Terraformer to exist, but it's in the opening once that zone ends up pulling away.
Yeah, and Zone's definitely been pulling away from some teams like Alliance today, right? Getting some great stats here from production. Alliance have 83% of their points today coming from kill points versus only 17% from placement points. If you contrast that with a team like Pengu Power, they've had 64% of their points from placement points and only 36 from kills. And then, okay, F9 89% so far from placement points. I think that was off the back of that game where they had, what was it like? They got a second or a third and got no KB with it. So yeah, look, some interesting variances throughout our lobby so far.
Yeah, because then you take a look at the fact that Alliance sitting in 13th overall with only 24 points. You have one game to go, and then you look at, for example, Team Nemesis sitting in first place with 59 points. It highlights how kill-heavy they've been. Almost matching that of Alliance is still a bit of a difference there, because Alliance having only 24 kills, but it's rather 24 points and 20 kills, but it's still the placement, the ability to find yourself in this next zones that just keep pulling away from Alliance has been very unlucky here. When we take a look at our map rotation, once again, we are going into Broken Moon, and we say goodbye to Ash while we're at it.
All right, see you later. Interesting differences between, you can see the correlation between damage done and the kills picked up. So obviously WEH and Forbidden had much more arduous paths towards victory in games 1 and 3 versus the other teams who picked up 7 and 8 kills and only had to put out about, half or 3k damage throughout the course of a game. So as Ash gets banned out, you can see it's actually nice and evenly spread. One assault, one controller, one skirmisher, one recon, one support character. So essentially the best character from each class has now been banned out.
I love this. I don't know, honestly, just seeing my OCD brain just sort this out in the way that it is. Having one legend banned from each section really highlights how everybody has just been able to adjust in their own different ways. We've seen Lifeline, we've seen the Gibby at one point, we've seen the Mirage, we've seen the Cossack, we've seen the Rampart, we see the Watson. Everyone's been able to be played in their own way, really. Mostly, at least, we've been seeing the Valkyrie, we talked about the Seer before too, as well as the Ballistic. So it really helps elevate how some of these teams are still utilizing these different legends to do something that the previous banned legends were able to bring, but different.
And yeah, it's going to be different again as we get into our 6th game here and see what the teams are cooking up for us. I'm not actually seeing anything too insane. Like sometimes we do see some wild stuff here in game 6, but a lot of Watson picks, a lot of Valkyrie. It seems that without the option to sort of have, good setup legends, good rotation legends, a lot of teams are actually saying, you know what, we'll play Valk and we'll slam it. We think Vicky's right.
It's just hard too, because in terms of positioning with Valkyrie, right? Like looking on the other side of the coin, if I had more time during my hot take, it's fairly hard, especially in lobbies like this, to be able to take advantage of the Valkyrie and find some space without getting absolutely decimated from the sky. But in terms of positioning in these specific maps, you could try to find those spots very early on if you do not find yourself early game pinch, which usually don't unless you see a lot of these teams go for these quick rotations using an evac tower or so. But loving how we're already seeing our final game of EMEA shape up here. A lot of different diversity in terms of the legend comps with the Gibby too, the Watson, and like the Valkyrie that you were talking about.
I mean, yeah, look, as we get the zone pulling over towards, is it another stasis? Is it an Eternal Gardens one this time? I'll have to wait till zone 3 because it's a bit 50-50 right now to see in which direction it swings. You can also see all of the legend picks here. So Forbidden going with the Seer once again. A smattering of Wraith. I'm surprised we're not seeing more of her. And the teams who want extra reset options, we do have some Gibraltar here. So Nemesis and Infinite both picking up that support character.
This is interesting. I don't think we've even seen like a Pro League zone try to pull in this direction just yet. So it's going to be nice seeing how Team Nemesis having that Eternal Garden POI play off of this. Infinite already quick with the zip lines to get into that position closer to Nemesis, and NIP flying overhead. Oh, but look at the creep up. Phoenix trying to get into position right behind Bad Sniper to get the jump onto Nemesis.
Trouble goes down. Nice shots coming out from Feud. He can't step through the fences, but he doesn't need to grab the first 2 knocks.
Huge here for Pengu Power, getting even more KP, seeing the opportunity because they're wrapping around this squad. Nemesis get taken out, but they were wrapping around them because they know that Reply Totem are on the other side by Quarantine Zone. And they hear an evac tower in the distance too. That could be FaZe that could try to go right over the underpass side to try to show presence, or maybe KCP flying away through cultivation.
Yeah, obviously multiple teams going to be pushing through quarantine zone in the middle of smack bang in the middle of the map. So teams are always going to be rotating through here and potentially running into each other as they do it. And so there's 4 teams currently in quarantine zone, but if we push up even further and go over to Alpha base, it's always Annex Esports who seem to be getting into fights early. They're just a rebellious group, always looking for a bit of argy-bargy, and they'll run into Aurora this time.
Taking it slow, though. If it's going to be able to pop that shield bat. Trying to get up on top of the high ground here. It's going to be an isolated fight. Nobody really around to go in for a 3P, which is great here for Nex. We're playing split position, though. When you're here in Alpha Base, there's so many different angles you could hold. You can see 9 Impulse by the bins, over by the middle, while Lifeman trying to see if he could get up on top of the high ground here. Oh, he falls down here. You could hear the pings right behind them, too. Engaging in this fight, the evac tower was called in from the other side. They lose out on the Valkyrie here, and they're about to lose out on Jans, too. Lifeman just trying to find an angle, but he can't find a great spot to help out his team.
Oh, so once again, Annex are on the wrong side of this early fight, and this just continues to cause problems for them, right? I mean, this time they're completely eliminated. In some of the other games, they managed to get away with one of the members, but then they're in such an ugly spot that they usually get eliminated on zone close. So yeah, that's been a rough series for Annex. They will go out, and yeah, that's guaranteed 20th now. Only 6 points for the day.
Unfortunate. Gotta bounce back here too, as Nemesis saw some life here. Now gone. 10k though after winning our last game. Kashera being on the Wraith. Again, just really love the diversity of legend picks that we're currently seeing. Trying to make a play now with the portal, setting things up for 10k. No squads in the vicinity, but maybe trying to get the ring console that's over to the south side of Stasis. Pengu Power are on the way on that rotate, so while they do try to make this play, they will probably end up fighting against Pengu for that cliffside beacon.
Can we just say there should probably be a rule? There should probably be a rule against someone like Kashira picking up a teammate that's called Kashaiha.
When I was studying this team, I saw that and I'm like, I don't know if that was on purpose, but you know what? I'll take it. Kashira Jr., Kashaiha, either way.
That just sounds like it is just designed to destroy casters.
It's not the first time I've seen it happen, Genome. I'll never forget about the team named Uwu Owo Catboys. That's a legend one for those of you veterans here in the ALGS scene. But FaZe Clan now making their rotate through the zip lines, finding themselves up on the high ground. Nice shots though earlier on. Team Zayn on the low ground here too. Look how many squads though are trying to share some of this space. So many teams have made their way already into Eternal Gardens, finding each individual dome building to create some space too.
Pengu Power right in the middle of a whole bunch of different teams here, as yeah, teams certainly seem to be erring on the Eternal Garden side of the issue. They think it might be pulling out further east, and that does kind of make sense. Do we get confirmation? Yes. Okay, we are going over to Eternal Garden, so nice. We get to see something a little different as Infinite says, this is my house, and really wants to get stuck into Forbidden, who's right below them.
I love variation here with our... I love variation with our circles though here. And you know, we were talking about Kaisha and Kashera, but we also had Nemesis and then Team Nemesis too. So it goes all the way around, honestly, looking at this lobby. Bushi taking a different angle though, trying to creep walk though, trying to see if he can get a little sneaky with this squad. I mean, he is the Wraith. He's one of those players that he could absolutely just queue out if he's in trouble to the rest of his squad that's up on the high ground. See if plays could be made here. Infinite though, lose out on Bushi, and it looks like it was way worth it here for Infinite. They finish off Fuda, they get the next one here too. And they were able to get that reset. Pengu Power get eliminated while they take over the entire building.
That's a nice little pickup. Only 2 of the kills, obviously. Where did the other Pengu Power player go?
Annihilated.
Did they get the finish?
They got the finisher below.
Yeah,
I think it was VC Go also taking shots at them too, as you could hear it in the distance. They were able to actually claim all those 2 domes on the south side by the crates while looking at Infinite. Nice little overhead here from Prod to let you guys see that Team Nemesis are in the middle of Eternal Gardens, while Gaimin Gladiators in those buildings by the zip lines over to the northeast side.
Yeah, Alliance once again playing for that late rotation into the zone, trying to wait a little bit to see and then get a good spot. We'll see if it works out for them in Game 6. Certainly hasn't been doing so hot for them in the rest of the series, currently sitting in 13th spot. WEH will clean up yet another kill, and they're one of the teams that Alliance is chasing.
As fast as you can here, Alliance over on the north side of Divide, while WEH make their rotate. Probably could get either that ring console or survey beacon in the outside of zone. You hear the pings too, while Alliance call in the evac tower, trying to make their next ping on where they want to rotate to.
Let's have a look. Let's see where they go. They're going to try and slam somewhere middle of the road, or okay, they're actually going to go for the oob play into one of these buildings below them. VC Go currently are split holding the buildings, and they get a knock onto Effect.
You blinked and you may have missed it. You see how Quake Effect went down the moment his feet touched the ground. VC Go standing on business versus Alliance, where Hockey has found himself up on the high ground of the ship here. They were able to get Effect back and going to be able to get that passive healing back here too. Nice cover here from Hockey's holding onto the high ground, preventing VC Go from making any plays off of that knock.
Yeah, interesting that they didn't go for the full finish. Maybe they're worried about other teams like this rotating in through evacs of Valcolts. Alliance, yeah, that's a good reset for them to have though.
He walked into the charged up rampage just shooting preemptively before he even got over the rampart barrier. Unfortunate here. WEH lose out on their fuse. Alliance with a charged up rampage of their own now, trying to fully send it onto VC Go. They lose out on Effect again, but they get the trade originally here. Worth it here for Alliance, as Hawkeyes is going to be able to watch Unlucky get that res onto Effect.
Damn, 2 kills. The other member of VC Go is outside, so... But yeah, importantly, you know, VC Go, they had the knock. They could have prevented this happening by being more aggro. But it's, you know, flashbacks to sort of, you know, Infinite and Forbidden earlier on E District. They just don't take the opportunity when it's presented to them, and they pay dearly for it.
I mean, something that they're going to look back onto here. Now looking at other squads making their way in from the south side. Thinking about F9 now, looking at Alliance on the left dome building by those crates. Infinite still were able to hold onto that building by the zip lines without giving up that space too. But the zone is going to completely be shifting over to that northeast side, closer to Gaimin Gladiators, Gino.
Yeah, so unfortunately it's the northern set of the circular buildings that will be in a good spot, and they're currently occupied by UAIM and Ninjas in Pyjamas. So Alliance, sadly, we're hoping to pull back down to them, but no such luck. Gaimin Gladiators also are sitting on, I think they're in the sort of the trenches, which don't provide you with a lot of cover. So I don't know how much I love that position unless they've got Rampart, which no, they don't. They've just got Bang Smokes to hide behind.
I'm just appalled that once again, this zone just pulls completely away from Alliance. Very unlucky today with some of these circle pulls. I just literally 6 for 6 really from what we've seen thus far. But that's how it be sometimes. Forbidden now looking to force their way in through this choke. Looking at the team that's waiting for them up on the high ground. That's going to be FaZe cutting them off. Ooh, huge shots right there. G7 shots landing, but going out in the open like this after getting that knock. Absolutely, FaZe is going to try to cover them while they're trying to get that res, and now it ends up working against Forbidden. They really had no other choice with Circle 3 closing in behind them. There's really nowhere for them to go.
And FaZe Clan have won this fight in just the nick of time here, because you can see with Zone 3 closing in, it would have been tough for them to make it inside. Luckily, they've got the speed boost from the Tempest to help them in as they start looking at SJP2, who are occupying the building just ahead of them.
Aurora, Kazakh still alive here. Playing right on the other side of KCP while getting beamed from a distance. Teams from afar. I hear the triple take. I hear the P20s. I saw the Nemesis. The 30-30. Everything singing here in our ears as Aurora get eliminated. KCP now walk up, get the loot that they need. Reply to meet them right back in the lobby.
Yep, sad, especially when it's a game 6 and you know you've got... Your fate is no longer in your hands, right? You've done all you can and you have to just sit there, watch and wait for the other teams to see if they will eclipse you on the scoreboard. It does... Oh, the zone actually pulls a bit more southerly. So it's essentially on top of Eternal Gardens, the main building here. I think there might have been a game that we cast at LAN, Vicky, that had a similar finish to this.
It's actually so big to see with Alliance now being as close to that southern point as possible. It's like they heard it and they had to give it at least that one circle pull. Now Alliance playing on the edge of zone. SJP2 though on the outside of this zone, trying to figure out how they can move in here because they're looking at FaZe now cut them off. UAIM are another team that's going to cut them off on this rotate, and it's always so difficult to find yourself out from this position when the zone's pulling out in the open where you're forced to rotate. Do you go through the backside where you know that's probably going to have another spot waiting for you on the choke by huge Kraber? I was gonna say by the bins where exactly 10K is at. Nice Kraber shot that we see from Kashira. You know that they were able to get that mythic win perhaps here with Kashira having that red helmet, or at least take it off of somebody else's box.
Yeah, it seems likely. One of those two things, but yeah, BPR's just below them. Just as Kashira starts moving away to put the portal down though, BPR might have seen this and have started taking up position. They need the Kraber here to try and scare this other team off. BPR finding a good opening here against 10K. Will it work out?
Oh, he canceled it. He canceled it. Oh, that's so unfortunate, but it's fine. Post kill comes up and they're able to get the res. But the zone closing in prevents them from getting any sort of reset now as round 4 closes in, and NIP also fighting FaZe kind of on the outskirts of this zone.
Well, thank God they had the portal set up, so 10K do manage to move a little bit closer to the zone, but they're still not done. They've got further positions to take, and there you go. It's Pioneers that actually had the sightlines on them to eliminate them, and we now move down to 9 squads.
9 squads left in a zone like this. KCP Slayers poked for 1 second, got deleted, having to reset now by the stairway. Team Nemesis though directly in the middle, and with their composition right now with this rampart, it lets them keep up this pressure. You see Hockey's on the other side, but they have to split up so much of their attention to all the squads within the vicinity.
Yeah, and looking at the leaderboard up the top of the screen here, Vicky, it looks like Team Nemesis have most likely wrapped this one up. The next team left alive is like 30 points below them, so it's 64. They've probably won the day.
Team Nemesis want to keep it going now. NIP get eliminated. SJP2, the team playing underneath Team Nemesis right now, going to share this middle part of Eternal Gardens. No one's going to try to contest them from inside this building. KCP are still looking to see what they could do on the outskirts of Eternal Gardens. Do they wrap around as the zone pulls slightly over to the east side, closer to Alliance? Gaimin Gladiators still overlooking. They don't want to fully extend because they know that UAIM could just walk up behind them and 3P them.
Yeah, UAIM like well by themselves at the northern side of this ring right now. They're still in one of the other buildings, the circular buildings, whereas everyone else has their attention firmly focused on the main part of Eternal Gardens. GG, as you can say, this is that the trenches that I was talking about, but they're not even really deep enough to go. They're just roads, I suppose. And yeah, those sight lines are really tough. You do have to crouch down behind them, and if anyone else starts turning this way, it could be lights out for GG.
And UAIM flying in also lose out on Max Strafe here. So GG now walking up, see if they can get a different angle here to KCP. Trying to hold them back, sending out the archer right behind them. Blast follows up, beautiful knock onto Falcons. Light gonna try to reset with the shield bat. Blast ready to blow. See closing in on the distance between himself and Slayers, and Team Nemesis also taking some shots at the teams moving up from right underneath them.
Yeah, as if their position in the lobby wasn't good enough already. death boxes are donated. Alliance, in the meantime, they've got a good chance to overtake some of these other teams if they can play this well. They've got a lot of zone to themselves right now. They maybe want to deal with F9, who are sort of sitting below them. But at some point, all of these other teams like Nemesis are going to be dropping out of this main building and have to come and play with them on the outside.
Team Nemesis knowing that they got this in the bag with the way that they've played today, holding on to high, Gaimin Gladiators right underneath them. Team Nemesis are still focused, though, looking on different angles, but also looking at the teams to their south, specifically Alliance and F9 that are still poking at each other. And SJP2 also trying to take some shots. Alliance still hailing from above here. You see the ALGS right behind the barriers from the rampart. 5 squads left here, and now round 6 finally ends up closing. The final ring closing up behind their backs. Unlucky gets that initial knock here. Alliance want to get even more KP, because that's where most of their points have stemmed from for the day.
Indeed, they do want to be adding some placement points into the mix, holding on to some of their ultimates right now. Obviously, being on the outside and slightly on the high ground here, it does give them an opportunity to maybe start setting up, you know, defenses, the pylon as well. Whereas other teams are really just going to have to, you know, push into it with very little utility available.
What a play there with the ballistic ult from Effect, and then he's coming up from right behind them to completely displace Team Nemesis. Hockey tries to go for a follow-up, but Unlucky's busy getting the res on Effect. He'll get that passive healing. Unlucky slides in, and with the P20s, Team Nemesis get eliminated. What a move from Alliance.
It's the calls you want to see coming out of Hackers, and it is the aggression to take that space away from the other teams that you want to see out of his dynamic roller duo.
That's what you got to see with the ballistic. The entry fragger here to start things off with that ult. Get everybody that speed boost here. Gonna be able to let it sing with those P20s and those weapons in general. Now with the final ring closing in, though, Hawkins is trying to find a position to play right behind with the portal. He puts it out here, but he gets taken down. He takes the portal right back, but Alliance can make something happen while they slowly now approach, get the reset. Effect now goes in. It's Ring Around the Rosie behind the rock.
Okay, is this portal going to be enough to put Alliance in the right position to take down GG and SJP2? SJP2 have waited their time, they bided their time, and it'll net them the win. Alliance had a great, you know, sequence of events there, managing to pick up lots of KP and certainly jumped their way up the leaderboard in that last game. But it's SJP who rest on their laurels in Game 6.
What patient play too from SJP2 with 12 KP, I believe, in that game. They were the squad neighboring Team Nemesis on that low ground and did not give up that space at all, bringing back Tiff after such high octane action in that 6th game.
You're not wrong. I was just sitting there vibing to the music. After that, I was like, look, SJP2 at like the start of the day, right? 2nd place in match number 1. We're going full circle here. At least they got Game 6 there.
Yeah, that was honestly crazy to see, too. A lot of the action that played out in the very end. Alliance making that move, though, so that way they could get better placement, but also some KP to their name. SJP2 with that dub, 12 KP. Alliance with 11 KP, double digits all the way around.
Look, it was definitely well needed, and I'd be curious to hear Genom's thoughts on this after, because at a certain point in time, Alliance is outside the top 10, looking in 13th, 14th place, and they needed that Hail Mary of a game to kind of salvage the majority of their points. Now, before I kick it over to you, Genom, because I want to hear your thoughts, but Hal said something last match day too, where you weren't going to see a lot of teams be consistent week after week, that it's going to leave room for those hits and misses. I think this Game 6 really helped get them consistent.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that across the board. Like literally every region has showed that. I think APAC North last night had some like 1st and then 19th performances, I think. We saw it from VKG and Keep Going Gaming in APAC South as well. 1st, 19th, 1st, 20th. It's just been all over the shop. So the fact that Alliance did manage to come in with the big game and finish it off, look at that. It's bumped them up from something like 13th to 6th.
Huge. I mean, look, it's not quite where they were on their initial showing. They had a 3rd overall, but I will take a 3rd and a 6th in a match day series just to kick things off while everyone's still kind of learning with E-District and Broken Moon. But congratulations to Team Nemesis out here on top with 68 points on the day, 10K after their win, Forbidden kind of being in that top 3 overall. It was a stellar showing, and I even saw a tweet from Team Nemesis while you were casting in Game 6. They were like, wait, we're cooking in Apex too? I guess they were doing pretty well in a major in a different state where maybe Onset and Gasket are. So good to see Team Nemesis having success across the board. Right, Vicky?
Oh yeah, I love it when the energy transcends esports out here. Seeing a team pop off in multiple directions, especially in a day like today. Again, it was my first exposure to Broken Moon casting for an ALGS environment, and being able to see how volatile it could seem for the teams that didn't go for a quick rotate, that don't have a legend that allows them to get over these difficult chokes. So many times we saw FaZe on the north side of that zone gatekeep like what like 2-3 different squads, and in situations like that, you could see how Team Nemesis was able to be flexible from both E-District and Broken Moon.
I think it was so vital that we saw the end game that we got in Internal Gardens for game number 6. And it's pivotal because when you're going into game number 6, as we roll back that final circle, because I want to check it out one more time, it was so interesting to me because as soon as we see those start to pull, it gets deeper and deeper into Internal Gardens. And the majority of people like to play with this high ground area, but you'll bunker down beneath kind of these catwalks. But we've already lost out on Newcastle. All we have is Watson. Like the first, imagine if Newcastle was here, Genome. Those plays would be so much actually ability to stay there.
Yeah, Newcastle completely changes this game, and that's why when we get up to game 6, you get these frenetic, the pace of the game 6 is often quite frenetic because there's a lot of people playing Ballistic, a lot of people playing Fuse as well to potentially bring your ring console character in there, and it just adds a huge amount of aggression.
It does, and you see the portal back for Alliance, but you're completely split between SJP2, and you take so much damage, and despite effect right there, trying to hold down in almost that 1-3 situation, it's just like, it's too little too late. We're split between them, but honestly, with enough KP to save the majority of their match day 3, I think it was exceptionally done. But overall, the first time we're seeing E-District and Broken Moon in one series for the EMEA region, I think it definitely paid off there. But I want to go ahead and look at who our Sony in-zone kill leader was for the day, because we had some pop-off moments from a variety of people, but it looks like it's going to be Remix Powers taking the top slot with 17 kills. But Vicky, very, very close.
532 P2020s. Oh man, Remix Power 17, and Zuni of course coming in right afterwards with 13. When we take a look at what Remix Powers was able to do today, we know that Remix has had the potential forever since he was on Noctum. Take out that jersey because you are making waves for Team Nemesis. We saw the transition too when I highlighted E-District and Broken Moon. They did obviously do better on Broken Moon, but it was still very even in terms of their placement and the KP that they were able to get on E-District 2. And that's with playing the Rampart, by the way, for all the last 3 games on Broken Moon.
I love that you can adapt to Rampart, because we were hearing so much from it about MG, right? He was like, yeah, not necessarily the biggest fan of Rampart, but when you can lock it in and be an exceptional one, I think it pays dividends, especially if we are going to lose out on Newcastle so early on in the EMEA region. But I honestly, after all the action today, I would love to go ahead and get an interview in, because they stayed calm under pressure today, clutched it up. We've got Zuni here from Team Nemesis. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so while we've got you here, I kind of want to kick things off and let them kind of answer a couple of questions, but I want to talk about what specifically was going through your mind in Game 6. You guys land Eternal Gardens, and immediately you get that information that it's coming there. So what did you guys start to think of as a team, and how did you prepare to hold on to the top slot?
Honestly, the first thing we thought was we didn't have Beacon in the last game. So immediately we're just looking for teams that are running in. Obviously nerves were kind of high, so we didn't want to like go out of our way to go to a different POI and kind of throw the game. So we were just mainly focusing on other teams and what they were doing.
Honestly, hearing that too and seeing how you guys were able to patiently just wait and see everybody just flying your direction, that was the indicator that you guys needed. But you and Remix Powers, your whole team just popping off today. Can you explain a little bit of that consistency that you guys were able to find on E District and Broken Moon? Two rather new maps here into our ALGS map pool, but the way that you guys were able to still stay consistent, very highlighting like of your individual powers.
So I think for E District, the main thing that was different for us today was that we really used the altar to like change our rotations a lot. So in I think it was game 3, we did a whole Valkyrie over walls, and we were using altar cues to get to like these weird angles that no one was ready for. And then Broken Moon, honestly, it was just being patient, and Valkyrieing in late was the main thing for us, just going off of info instead of like just going for a fight randomly.
Okay, so nice approach to the game there. I guess a more like slightly personal question here, Zuni. You know, you've played a couple of Pro League splits before, but you know, there was quite a big gap between you know, playing in 2022 and 2024, and now obviously you know, doing so well here today. Like, what's it been like with your progression as a pro player over the years?
So it's definitely been like a rocky road. It's been like a very difficult journey, honestly. I think my last year of Pro League was the biggest point for me, where I joined Tryhard Thor and Black Venom, and I picked up the IG Aurora for the first time. I think the biggest thing for me was just getting picked up by Remix, honestly. I've learned so much since I got on this team, and I think I've improved so much as a player, and I think they enable me so well, and it's just going really well at the moment.
I'm going to agree with you on that as well. I think it is making strides, considering you were 13th in your first game day in Split 1, and now you're on top here, and everything's kind of looking good leaning into the ALGS Open. So what are you guys going to take from today to LAN?
The confidence, honestly. I think there was a lot of times today where like we were just in a building and most teams would just sit still and do nothing. But we just killed the team next to us. They weren't ready for it, and we just killed them. It's just pure confidence, man.
Honestly, that is the biggest thing that can make such a large difference. And congratulations yet again for being confident, getting the top of the day, and taking all of that forward to New Orleans. Please eat a beignet and celebrate for me and crush it on LAN. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, have you never had a beignet?
I haven't, no.
You're welcome. Okay, go eat one. Go eat one. I'm going to look for the pics on social media. I'm telling you right now, get one, get a win, crush it at LAN. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, thank you.
Now I'm craving beignets. Vicky, Genome, please tell me, have you guys had beignets before?
I have gone to Café du Monde. I've tried it before a long time ago. It was really good. It was like one of my first esport tournaments outside of state was in New Orleans.
Gino?
I haven't, no. I only heard about them when people started talking about the New Orleans LAN. I didn't even know they were a thing.
Well. I mean, maybe take some beignets back to Australia's realm. But I mean, guys, a killer day. Zuni was epic. I'm so proud of Team Nemesis for coming out on top. And honestly, I love that he highlighted the confidence, because it is such a game changer. If people are going to sit still in buildings, ape them. If you have that, that's 99% of the battle. Plus good shot calling. Plus, when you say Remix picking me up, that was the best highlight. Honestly, stellar performance. But honestly, like, that is all we've got for the EMEA region. So Vicky, I got to hear your final thoughts. You said it was your first time casting Broken Moon ever. Was it everything that you wanted it to be?
It was actually a lot better than I originally expected when I was watching. It's very fun to see how when Broken Moon's at the end of the map rotation, when you already have 3 legends banned, what teams are going to do differently. Like you had mentioned earlier on with Newcastle being as strong as he is and holding whatever spot you want to hold down, not having him into the mix on Broken Moon could be really difficult when you have teams like Alliance just coming up from your behind and trying to take that space. So it's been really cool. It's also the first time that I was able to cast legend bands, and I love it. I actually think that this is so fun to watch because it highlights the individual player skill and the flexibility that teams have now, aside from all the other factors that Apex Legends has.
Yeah, that's well said. The legend bans are just incredibly refreshing. So Genome, I've got to hear it. Final thoughts on the day?
Well, look, I knew exactly what was going to happen. I had the script.
What?
right here. Yeah. So look, I've just been waiting for this to happen. Look, no, it was a great day. I really enjoyed how Nemesis played, honestly, and the description from Zuni there about how they make those decisions, I think says a lot, because we saw even some of the best teams in the world across all the regions lacking some of that confidence, I think, with how we've seen the game evolve in the year 5 of ALGS. So any team who can, just reach out and grab that confidence and start playing like that is going to see amazing results. And Nemesis has proved it here today.
I'm going to try to channel some of that confidence. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I want just maybe like 70% of it. I'll even settle for 30. Look, it's not that much, but guys, you were brilliant today. I can't wait to have you on later for the Americas. Go rest up. You guys deserve it. Let's close some things out here because chat and everyone around the world, thank you so much for watching match day number 3 with EMEA. But the Apex action, it's not going to stop here. Of course, we do have the Americas where we will see yet again groups B versus C, and with the road to LAN heating up and the final match day, you're not going to want to miss this, okay? Especially leading into a 160 team LAN in New Orleans where there are beignets. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, you've never been to New Orleans, it's interesting. That's how I'm gonna put it. It's interesting, but anytime you take Apex Legends to a city, you know it's going to be a good time. So that's all for us at the EMEA region. We will see you just a couple hours away in Americas. Who knows what's gonna happen, because we're gonna have more E-District, more Broken Moon, and more chaos. Catch you on the flip side.